Good evening and welcome to NHM Live. I'm Alison and I'm your host for this very special episode where we're unveiling the winners of this year's prestigious Wildlife Photographer of the Year Awards. Wildlife Photographer of the Year is the Natural History Museum's annual showcase of the world's best nature photography and wildlife photojournalism. From almost 50,000 entrants, our panel of expert judges have whittled the competition down to just 100 finalists. These form the basis of a major exhibition that's opening on the 20th of October here at the museum. Now, these images really shine a light on nature photography as an art form, but they often also allow us to address some of the important issues that face the natural world today. Now, our finalists are gathered in Hintze Hall and their winning images will be announced tonight. We'll be live streaming the awards in their entirety, but along the way, we'll also be exploring some of the images in more detail and also speaking to some of the photographers. And I'm very pleased to be joined tonight by Luc. Now, Luc, you are an award-winning photographer yourself with some experience of this competition.
Yeah, last year I was in those guys' position, kind of sipping on champagne, ready to go find your spot beneath Dippy at that point, and now it's beneath Hope. But yeah, very exciting.
Fantastic. Now, Luc is going to be helping us dissect some of these winning images a little bit later on. But also out on the ceremony floor, we have my colleague David. Now, he's going to be mingling with some of our photographers. So let's head over there now and try and soak up some of that atmosphere. David, how's it looking over in Hintze Hall?
Hi Alison, yes, thanks for that. I'm here in the recently reopened and reimagined Hintze Hall, surrounded by some of the museum's most important specimens, including, and you're going to have to believe me here, a 25-metre blue whale skeleton suspended in mid-air. Hope, a symbol for the museum's commitment to a sustainable future, as well as being a window into the past. So what better place to host tonight's awards and celebrate the natural world as well as wildlife photography and of course the photographers themselves. And as Alison said, we've had around 50,000 entrants to this year's competition, which the judges have whittled down to around 100 entrants. A tough job indeed. And we're delighted to be joined by many of those finalists here tonight at both amateurs and professionals from all around the world. They're waiting in anticipation to find out who's going to be the Wildlife Photographer of the Year 2017. The excitement is palpable. In the meantime, I'm hoping to be grabbing as many of those finalists as we can to find out a little bit more about their winning images, the stories behind them, and also maybe some top tips for budding wildlife photographers out there. Because it's not just about the one winning images. There are 17 categories in total, and we'll be finding out who the winners of each of those are tonight. So stay tuned, it's all very exciting. In the meantime, let's go back to Alison and Luc in the studio before the awards kick off proper.
Thank you very much, David. Now, Luc, you were here this time last year, so how will those finalists be feeling?
I mean, it's like Christmas, you know, the day before you're really excited, then you finally get there. And I mean, of course, there might be some repeat photographers that have been in the competition before, but for me last year, it was my first ever time. I'd been going to the competition for over a decade, looking up to those, like, you know, it's the thing in wildlife photography. It's the Oscars of wildlife photography. So to be there and like walking up those steps, you're all suited up and kind of ready to go. It's a really exciting moment.
Fantastic. Now you're seeing it from a very different angle now, so you'll be very relaxed here behind the scenes. You can imagine how they're feeling.
Yeah, and of course, like no one knows who the grand title winner is going to be, so they're all going to be sat there seeing these incredible images coming up, thinking, is that going to be me? And yeah, and especially for the young kids, I mean, it's a highlight, you know, it beats being at school, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So we do have two overall winners that will be announced. So we have the young finalist, but also the adult finalist as well. So very exciting for both adults and the youngsters alike.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to go on, and obviously they know what their picture is. Everyone watching, I know I've been sat at home. This is the first year that people can follow along live and actually see the images before you're looking at Twitter and Facebook as each one's announced. So it's a whole new. It's exciting for the people at home, exciting for the people here.
So you were a finalist last year, is that right?
Yeah.
And what was the category?
In the urban category. So yeah, it was the black kites swooping in for me in the back streets of Delhi.
I remember that very well. It's an absolutely beautiful image.
Thank you.
So we'll be seeing lots of very stunning images tonight. We'll be announcing just a few of the category winners first of all, and then we'll be coming back to the studio where Luc and I will be analysing some of those images and trying to find out a little bit about why they might have won. So very, very interesting. Do stay tuned.
No, it's really one of those things. It's every year. It's the highlight of the wildlife photography calendar. So I'm really excited to see them up there and get that first glimpse.
So it's almost like the Oscars. I hear they say the Oscars of the photography
you
world.
Speak to any wildlife photographer, and like that wildlife photography is the thing that everyone wants to be in. They want to be part of. There's people already. Like I spoke to people this week that when's it open? I can't wait to go. You know, even people who aren't wildlife mad. It's such a kind of all-encompassing competition. Everyone wants to come and see it, and yeah, everyone knows about Wildlife Photographer of the Year.
Now let's hear from one of our judges, because they have a very, very difficult job every year. So let's hear from Matthias, one of our judges.
To be part of this jury is quite a privilege. It's like boiling down Mother Earth visually, and it's quite amazing to see all the great photography and all the great efforts that goes into great photography. It's inspirational to look at other photographers' work because you obviously get ideas, but it's also recognizing great environments. It's like traveling back to places where you might have been before. And so it's quite nice when you see pictures from Borneo or Antarctica or the Arctic or anywhere else. It's even though you don't necessarily see the captions immediately, it's like a little bit of a time warp thing going on.
So a little bit of insight from the judging panel there. It's an incredibly difficult job, isn't it? So 50,000 entrants, they have to whittle down to 100.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in their position. I think it's 92 countries or something. And yeah, those 100 images, and you just know, like, I can look on, I know what people are producing, and the level is increasing every single year. So it's incredibly hard. You think you've got that many images in front of you, and you've got to pick out just those. And of course, they're not all going to agree on particular images as well.
Of course, of course.
It must be really tricky, obviously, and they just flash up in front of you and you get that glimpse, and that's why the image has to be so powerful or stunning that it gets them there and then, and they're on to the next one. But that goes into the next round, and one by one, and then, I mean, speaking from experience, you know when the notifications go out saying you might be in, so you're refreshing your inbox constantly, waiting for that to come through. And yeah, I've been in that position, and the disappointment when you get, oh, sorry, but then of course the elation when you are in that 100 out of 50,000 pictures.
So you were a finalist last year. I think we can take a look at your finalist image. Tell us, where was this taken?
So it was on the back streets of Delhi, and I was doing a project on the black kites, and there's 60,000 breeding pairs in Delhi alone. And yeah, photographing black kites in Delhi, there's lots of rubbish, that's what they thrive off, but they're not having the best of diets. And I learned that in the Muslim neighbourhood that they offer food to people and animals less fortunate after prayers. So basically they would throw up chunks of meat into the sky, and you'd get this kind of tornado of kites swirling around. So I went to photographing. At first I was like kind of ground level, and then trying to work out what was the best angle, and then noticed up from this pot, 3 little kids popped their head over and I said, can I get up there? So I clambered through, and they're all individual houses. So I went through people's living rooms and stepped over them as they were eating their dinner, climbed up a few ladders, and then got up here. And yeah, it was that kite's eye view, and that was the thing, kind of leaning out precariously, trying to get that shot as the kite swooped in. You had to get them in the perfect position. But there's so much going on, and yeah.
There is. It's beautiful. It slightly gives me vertigo a little bit, that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess it's different from the norm. It's easy to shoot up, and that's what you've got to be looking for as a photographer as well. You've got to be entering shots. You're only allowed to enter 25 shots. I'm taking pictures all year of stuff, so it's hard for the judges to whittle down that 100 from 50,000. But also, when I don't take 50,000 pictures a year, but when I'm taking lots of pictures in a year, and there's things where I've got an emotional tie to it. You know, it might be an incredible experience, but you've got to kind of detach yourself from the picture and really look at it for what it is, and you never really know what the judges are going to go for. It's always a surprise, but yeah, you've only got those 25 chances.
Absolutely. And what was it about this particular image that made you enter this one?
Like I said, yeah, just the different angle. I hadn't really seen anything like it before, because that's the other thing, it's always good. I know the judges have every single, I mean, we're in 53 now, so yeah, there's 52 previous competitions that you've got to get something that's a little bit different than the last.
Exactly.
And I guess that was it. Like I knew I hadn't seen that kind of shot before. And yeah, like I say, as soon as I took it, it was kind of taking lots of shots as they swooped in, but as I scanning through my computer, just the wing splayed and the two vying for that one piece of meat, that was when I was like, it's worth a punt. And yeah, it was. And there I was. Yeah,
Clearly.
so no, it was really cool to see.
Now, earlier we spoke to another of the judges, Britta, so we can get a little bit of insight from her. So let's hear from her now.
The Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition is like the Oscars for photographers. And there's no doubt about it, it gives you huge amounts of exposure. Especially if you're young, I think if you want to start a career as a photographer, I would highly advise to enter your pictures to this competition. Because if you get a photo in, it's enormous. The amount of attention you get from the press or general public is enormous. I mean, I think it makes people, it makes careers. I think this competition literally makes careers.
Well, that's a really, really interesting point that she raised there, that it makes careers. As a young photographer yourself, how important is this competition?
Like I say, it's huge. It's the biggest thing in wildlife photography. So that is, yeah, you really want to be in it to either send a message out, like educate people about conservation, or just to be part of it. But also, of course, it's an advert of your work. So for me, yeah, as a 26-year-old or 25 last year, I'm trying to break into an incredibly competitive industry. Where, yeah, you've got tons of people taking lots of pictures every year and you need to stand out. So being part of this obviously helps you stand out, but also for those younger ones, the under 10s, the 11 to 14, 14 to 17 categories, you know, that's those guys, hopefully they're going to go on to have very successful careers as wildlife photographers, but it's a perfect, you know, step or that little push that perhaps 14 to 17, you know, you're not sure about what you're going to do next, life's catching up and you might be leaving school, am I going to university, what do I want to do, and then you get something like this and you win that category or you get into it, and it's the push you might need. It's an incredible, yeah, like a stepping stone, you know, getting up, and you come to an event like this and out there alongside the competitors, there's also people from National Geographic, BBC Wildlife Magazine, all those, like, the people that you need to talk to make a career out of this, and they're out there and you can share a glass of champagne with them and have a chat about your picture and get to know those people.
It's the ideal platform, isn't it? And of course, it's seen, the exhibition itself is seen by literally millions of people across the globe. So for getting your images out there, it's absolutely perfect,
exactly.
Isn't it?
Like after last year, I had emails coming from all over the place asking for interviews or publishing the story and stuff like that. So no, it's brilliant. It's the perfect thing, and yeah, long may it continue. It's great to be involved again for a second year.
Absolutely, absolutely. How did you first become a wildlife photographer?
It's quite. My sister was doing photography at college, and I've always been interested in wildlife for a long time. And I just started picking up her camera at the weekend, taking it out, and instead of being able to just go home and tell people like, "Oh, I saw a kingfisher," I was able to show them a pretty rubbish. I had a 18 to 55mm lens to begin with. It was this big green bit with a tiny blue spot, and that was the kingfisher. But that's when I first realised that actually, I don't just tell people, I can actually show them it. And then from then on, it got developed more and more. Schoolwork began to suffer as I got older, and that's when I really realised that I thought I want to do this full time. And yeah, over the past few years, it's been incredibly tough, but not easy at all. But yeah, like you say, competitions like this have helped along in my development and getting further and further into the industry.
Now, the competition has been going for a very long time. It's in its 53rd year. Let's take a look at some previous winning images. So some absolutely stunning images there. The standard is always so high. Last year's winner was it Tim Lehman?
Tim Lehman's orangutan, which actually I think it was part of the photojournalism. There it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the photojournalism
Stunning image.
portfolio. But again, I think it's an incredible image, but it's also really interesting for a photographer and those tech geeks out there as well. You know, at the beginning, at the bottom of each caption, you've got the equipment. And this shot was taken on a GoPro, and it just goes to show, I think some people think you need a really expensive camera with a huge lens to get these beautiful shots, but it's taken on a GoPro, it's accessible to anyone, and it just shows the best wildlife photography competition in the world, and the grand prize winner is taken on a GoPro. Just, I think that's the beauty of it. You know, you've got so many people, millions of people come to this exhibition every year, and it's an important platform to be able to show conservation messages like orangutans, but also encourage people to get out there, go and enjoy nature, pick up a camera, and anyone can do it.
Absolutely. So, the competition is open to amateurs, professional, semi-professionals alike.
Scientists, and that's the beauty tonight. I mean, I remember last year having a researcher and a scientist on my table, and you're mixing with all these people. We're not all photographers day in, day out, but everyone's got a really interesting story to tell. And you're also mixing with the greats like Tim Lehman, one of the probably the most talented wildlife photographer around, and you're getting to share the same room as him and get to see his pictures on centre stage.
Absolutely, and we're no doubt going to see some stunning images tonight as well. So very much looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Now the show is about to start. We'll soon be heading over to Hintze Hall. We'll be announcing the first few category winners, which will be very exciting, and then we'll be back to the studio with a bit more analysis. I'm really looking forward to seeing this.
Yeah, you can see people.
Yeah, you can see them
take
gathering.
their seats.
It looks beautiful there. We've got Hope as well, hanging there, our blue whale skeleton. It's a perfect setting.
Her first year overseeing the competition.
Exactly.
It's really cool. I remember last year, I'd always see these pictures. You know, everyone sat underneath, and I was like, I want to be there. And obviously, last year was the last year for Dippy, and then this year with Hope, there'll be people that have never even been to the Natural History Museum before. Like you say, people come from all over the world, the competitors. So it's really fun for the finalists.
And Hope with that very strong conservation message as well, very fitting for Wildlife Photographer of the Year. Because of course it is all about revealing the fragility and beauty of nature, and also often the human impact on nature as well.
Exactly. Unfortunately, we do have a lot to answer for, but as photographers, researchers, the people taking these pictures, I think it's our job to kind of get that message out there. And like I keep saying, this is the perfect platform for that. So many people come and see it. So you never know what images go up there tonight, but they could make a huge difference in the world of conservation.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope so. Spotting any familiar faces in the crowd?
Just seeing,
You're looking
and
out
that's
for...
the other thing, you know, you walk in with your, you get handed your glass of champagne, and you kind of look, oh, there's so-and-so, because no one knows who's in. It's all cloaked in secrecy right until this night. So I remember last year, you spot a friendly face. Oh, there, oh, that's great. So, and obviously you don't know what image they are, and of course there's a few whispers once you're in. But no, it's great to kind of, that excitement, the menus in front of you. I'm a bit of a food fanatic, so you're looking, and I know this year the menu is a plantable menu. I got told, so that you're actually able to take it home with you, plant it, and it grows. So all these little kind of neat little things. It's very exciting.
And I hope you're not too disappointed to be missing out on the champagne in the studio.
We have to wait till afterwards.
Beautiful. Now, do you have any favourite photographers that you know are in this year? Do you have any particular people that have inspired you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking. I mean, other photographers. That is the main thing. And it's individual images that pop up, and I look at them, think, wow, and then check out who they are. But obviously, National Geographic, all those photographers that you look at their work, and then you see their names crop up here. I mean, it is the best in the world are here, and that for me last year was one of the best things, that there was people I looked up to as I developed my career, and then I was sat a table over from them and they're in the same competition as me. So no, it's really exciting. There's a lot of different photographers, and for me I look for conservation stories, so like Brent Sturton, Charlie Hampton-James, people like that who are developing these incredible stories. Charlie's vultures last year, I mean, that's a bird that is unfortunately diving down a bad path, but I think they're quite vilified by humans, but they're incredibly important. And again, Charlie's story last year, getting into here, got that in front of people, painted them a different light, and that's why this is such a great competition, because people can walk in and be like, oh, horrid vultures, and then read the captions and learn about it, and maybe go home and research a bit more, and next thing you know, you've got a new vulture fan.
Exactly, a different perspective. Now, it seems that wildlife photography as a kind of a tool for education and getting conservation messages out, that's quite important to you?
Yeah, I think we almost owe it to them, you know, like we're going out there. I get to go to some incredible places in the world, see incredible things, but I also see some absolutely awful things. And I think there's a lot of people that, myself included at times, that are blinkered, but I know the shots that have come out this year, one of my favourites at the minute is the seahorse on a cotton bud.
Yes, yeah.
And like plastic, I mean, we're throwing so much into the oceans, and you know, everyone, each day on your way to work, someone's buying a water bottle and then it just gets tossed aside. Earbuds, I think there's a statistic, something like every single toothbrush or plastic toothbrush you've ever had is still in existence. And really scary statistics like that. So a picture like of the seahorse on the cotton bud, it really makes people think like, oh, wow, like there it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, like
it's
everyone's
beautiful, but
used them.
it's also horrifying at the same time.
Exactly, and I think that kind of shot really makes people sit up and be like, oh. And I think people are cotton on. I know Attenborough's saying it recently a lot with the plastic, and there's the statistics like that at one point in 2022 or something, or maybe we've even got to it already, there's going to be more plastic in the oceans than fish, and just those really, really scary things, and we can't keep on going like we're going. So images like that, you think, wow, like seahorses, everyone loves a seahorse, they think it's really cute, and then it's clinging on to this cotton bud. So that's why it's images, it's quite hard as a photographer to get out some of those hard-hitting images into the press or magazines, but also when they do go out, people read it for a week or a month and then chuck it on a pile and the next thing comes along. But something like this, a competition that, one, is somewhere like the Natural History Museum for a year, but also then travels around the country and the world. So it really keeps that longevity, and like you say, you've got millions of people coming as well.
Exactly.
It's the perfect place to almost put that environmental advert and make everybody sit up and listen or look.
So the exhibition opens at the museum on the 20th of October. So that's its premiere, but it also tours around the UK and tours around the world as well. Now, it seems like we are about to start. So from Luc and I, we will bid you a farewell. We will be back a little bit later on with some analysis, but we'll hand over to Liz Bonnen and the ceremony itself.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the Director of the Natural History Museum, Sir Michael Dixon.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's my great pleasure to welcome you here tonight to the Natural History Museum's newly reimagined Hintze Hall for this, the 53rd Wildlife Photographer of the Year Awards. This has been a landmark year for the museum. You're sitting beneath the new star of South Kensington, Hope, our 25.2 metre long real skeleton of a blue whale. I'm sure you will agree it's impossible not to be struck by the sheer scale and majesty of this amazing animal. Blue whales were hunted to the brink of extinction in the 20th century until there were only a few hundred left in the world's oceans. But they were the first species that humanity decided to protect on a global scale. And since then, the population has recovered to around 20,000 today. Our blue whale has taken a place at the heart of the museum to tell this powerful story about man's relationship with nature. That's why we decided to call her Hope, as a reminder that if we make the right choices, we can create a sustainable future. Because inspiring people to love the natural world and protect its future is at the core of what we do as a museum. That's why we are so proud to produce Wildlife Photographer of the Year. For more than 50 years, this competition has attracted the very best wildlife photographers in the world. Many of you are here tonight. The images you create provide a unique glimpse of beautiful, fascinating animals and environments, both rare and commonplace. You reveal the world to us, giving us new understanding and respect for this planet, our home, and that of the species we share it with. We're living at a critical point in our planet's future. The choices this generation makes will have an unprecedented impact on the world around us. Now more than ever, the work you do to raise awareness of the issues affecting our planet and the urgent need for conservation is vital. So we are honored to work with each and every one of the photographers in this competition and delighted that so many of you are able to join us tonight. You are the reason that the competition is so prestigious and so well loved. There are a number of people I'd like to thank this evening. First, our jury for lending their time, expertise, and reputations. Ros Kidman-Cox, Jasper Doost, Matthias Klum, Daniel Beltra, Britta Jasinska, and the chair of our jury, Lewis Blackwell. I'd also like to thank all of our international touring venues that host the exhibition. They help make this a global campaign, reaching millions of people across 5 continents every year. Wildlife Photographer of the Year is generously supported by our sponsor, Dong Energy, soon to be rebranded as Ørsted after the noted Danish scientist Hans Christian Ørsted. We're delighted that Dong Energy is signaling its commitment to help protect the planet, not only through its continuing and generous support of the museum, but also through the strides it has made on its journey to become a purely renewable energy company. As the images you will see this evening highlight, man's impact on the environment is one of our generation's greatest challenges. So it's heartening to see a company striving to offer greener ways of powering the planet. Dong Energy's support enables us to create this wonderful exhibition and keep the natural world in the public eye. Together, we are inspiring new and diverse audiences to engage with nature, to ask questions, and learn more about the science and conservation work being done to protect it. So tonight is a celebration of the natural world, of incredible photographic talent, and of the start of a journey that leads to millions of people being challenged to think differently about their role in the future of the natural world. So thank you for joining us. I wish you all a wonderful evening. And now please welcome to the stage someone who has done more than most to share the wonders of the natural world. Our host for this evening, science and wildlife presenter, Liz Bonin.
Thank you very much, Sir Michael, and good evening, everyone. It's such a pleasure for me to join you again to celebrate this extraordinary competition. As someone who is passionate about communicating the beautiful complexity of the natural world, I am truly honored to be part of a competition that plays such an important role in not only inspiring us, but also in challenging our priorities and perceptions about the world around us. This has truly become a highlight in my calendar, particularly when it comes to seeing the younger talent growing from strength to strength each and every year. Photography as a profession has evolved dramatically over the years in its abilities and in its ambitions. But without the early nature photographers who set the standards, we simply wouldn't be gathered here tonight. So we salute them and we celebrate tonight's winners who stand on the shoulders of giants, and this evening we'll join their ranks. The Natural History Museum has presented this competition for more than 3 decades now. It's an event that sits hand in hand with the museum's long-standing objective to better understand the origins and the evolution of life on Earth, its remarkable diversity, and how we can create a sustainable future. This year, the reopening of Hintze Hall with its stunning new star, Hope, has brought a new focus and a new energy to this mission to inspire. So it feels particularly special to be here tonight, celebrating the photographers who have gone to extraordinary lengths to capture images that tell an important story and that evoke in us deep emotions, powerful images that can ignite change. To capture images of this caliber requires years of experience, fieldcraft, and camera skills, as well as an explicit understanding of wildlife and all of its behaviors. But it also demands an innate extra talent, that extra magic, a gift that will raise the image to a whole other level. The photographers in this hall tonight have mastered the art of combining those skills with instinct and passion, and this is what makes them world class. This year, from more than a staggering 48,000 entries from 92 countries, our 6 judges have chosen just 100 images and 2 grand title winners. So you can imagine this took a long time, more than several weeks, and a lot of deliberation. When selecting the winning images, the judges looked for artistry and novel ways of portraying nature. Photographs that were arresting, that were thought-provoking, but also those that were beautiful in their simplicity. Our winners tonight were also selected because their passion for the natural world clearly went beyond personal photographic ambitions. And the result is a collection of outstanding images that I cannot wait to share with you tonight. Please join in the celebration on social media by using hashtag WPY53. I've already taken a picture of Hope and posted that on Twitter. We're live streaming on the competition's Facebook and Twitter pages throughout the night. And Brian Scarry will also be sharing stories from the awards on National Geographic's social channels. I see you're enjoying the food on your tables, good. And we'll be announcing the winners as you do so from the first 9 categories. Dinner will then be served, after which we'll announce the remaining 7 categories and then reveal the 2 grand title winners, the Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year and the Wildlife Photographer of the Year 2017. So, are you ready? Shall we get started? First up, the categories for the Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year. Taken by photographers aged 17 and under, these images are testament to the creativity and the innovation of our young competitors. Our first category is 15 to 17-year-olds. These awarded images are a collection of imaginative and surprising pictures by young photographers. They range from animal portraiture, action or behavior, the habitats of wildlife, to creative interpretations of the natural world. These final 5 photographs were judged on their quality, their style, their originality, and the results, I'm sure you will agree, are simply stunning. The judges commented on the superb level of talent. These photographers are certainly ones we will be watching in future. And now to the category winner. This intimate portrait of a western lowland gorilla lounging on the forest floor is a peaceful one, and one we would wish for all of these animals. The photographer met Kako in the forest of Odzala National Park in the Republic of Congo as he feasted on a fleshy African breadfruit. Kako is about 9 years old, and he's preparing to leave his family. He will soon become a solitary silverback, perhaps teaming up with other males for a while, and with luck, starting his own family in about 10 years' time. Western lowland gorillas are critically endangered, threatened by illegal hunting for bushmeat, disease, habitat loss due to mining and palm oil plantations, and by the impact of climate change. In his compelling portrait, the photographer captures the inextricable similarity between these wild apes and humans, and the importance of the forest on which they depend. Already a wonderful image of a rare and endangered species, it's Kako's expression and his pose that makes this scene extra special. The intimate moment has been framed as if glimpsed through a window. Please would you welcome from the Netherlands, Daniel Nelson.
Thank you very much, everybody. I was about 6 years old when I first heard of this competition, and it inspired me immediately. And since first hearing of this competition, my passions in life have evolved around wildlife, photography, and conservation. And for the next 12 years of my life, all that I've really devoted my passions towards are these three things. And now 12 years later, I've made it up onto this stage, and I followed my heart, I followed my passions, and I followed what I want to do in life. And I hope this competition will inspire many others of my generation to go into conservation, into photography, especially since it's so needed now. And I want to thank my family and my friends for their support over the years. Yeah, thank you very much.
What an inspirational young man and a great communicator as well, which is hugely important with the work that he does. Daniel is this evening's first category winner, shortlisted for the grand title of Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year. Our next award celebrates the achievements of the 11 to 14-year-olds. They may be younger, but their ambition and their creativity is just as vibrant. Our young photographers impressed the jury with their tenacity, their understanding of wildlife, and their sophisticated approach to their observations of the natural world. Playful, artistic, and authentic. There is a great diversity of exceptional shots here, and a level, you love that one, don't you? And a level of talent that perhaps belies the ages of our category finalists. Wonderful images. And the winner is Deep Snow. Yeah, it's a popular one. I love it. That got an extra round of applause. Deep snow had blanketed the Lamar Valley in Yellowstone National Park. This female American red fox was hunting beside the road, stepping quietly across the crusty surface of the snow. Every so often, she would stop, stare, tilt her head from side to side, and listen intently for the movement of prey, most probably a vole, beneath the snow. The photographer was also poised, her camera lens resting on a beanbag out of the back window of her car. Just as the fox came parallel with the car, she stopped, listened, and leapt high in the air, punching down through the snow, 4 feet in nose first and legs upended. She remained bottom up for about 10 seconds, waving her tail about, before using her back legs to pull out of the hole. Now, she didn't catch her prey this time, even though our winner was very much willing her to, but this illustrates the harsh reality of winter life in Yellowstone, says our winner. The judges thought this was a simple and elegant image illustrating the animal's somewhat comedic behavior, and I know you all loved it for that tonight. A previous winner in this competition, please would you welcome back America's Ashley Scully.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. I would like to first congratulate all of the other finalists and award winners tonight. Your work is an inspiration to me, and it's an honor to have my work shared alongside yours. I would like to thank the judges and the London Natural History Museum for this recognition, and my mentors for all of their encouragement and support. As a photographer, my hope is to always capture intimate moments of behavior that lead the viewer to care about the subject, in the hopes that they may one day have a positive difference for wildlife. This fox gave me a memory for a lifetime. I hope that my photo of it will return the favor and make people feel empathy for this fascinating animal. Thank you. And now our final category in the Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year is the 10 years and under, a firm favourite of mine each and every year. The photos in this category explore how the natural world is both independent of and interconnected to our human world. Our young photographers have used a wonderful variety of lighting, angles, lenses, and subjects. And even at this very young age, they show a strong foundation of technical ability and compositional instinct. I have no doubt we'll be seeing their work again in the coming years. And to the category winner. Like all her family, our 5.5-year-old photographer is fascinated by nature, and she's been using a camera since she was 4 years of age. Now, on a boat trip off the coast of central Norway, her focus was not on the white-tailed seagulls that the others were photographing, but on the cloud of herring gulls that followed the small boat as it left the harbour. At first, she was scared by their boldness, but soon became totally absorbed in them, lost in the noise, the wing beats, and the contrast of coloured feet and beaks in the whirl of white. This was her favourite of all the shots she took that day because of how the birds fill the white sky and the expression of the bird furthest away. Love it. This is a dynamic image, the judges said, reflecting the energy of the moment and breaking convention in the inventive and exciting way a young person so often does. I couldn't agree with them more. This image shows a curious behavior and has fun, innovative vision. From Italy, please welcome Katerina Bea. 5.5. I mean, just incredible, extraordinary. Katerina joins Ashley and Daniel on the shortlist for the title of Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year that will be revealed later this evening. And now onto the categories for the adult competition, Wildlife Photographer of the Year 2017. And first up is Animal Portraits, our most popular category every year. Through innovative photography, powerful compositions, and charismatic subjects, these images showcase the breadth of animal portraiture. Each photographer has captured an intimate moment, one that invites us to connect with the individual, and has revealed the personalities of the subjects in a thought-provoking way. The gaze of a species can speak 1,000 words, and these, I'm sure you will agree, are truly memorable images. And the winner of this category, the photographer had spent a long, difficult morning tracking chimpanzees, part of a troop of some 250 through Uganda's Kibale National Park. It was wet underfoot. The dense undergrowth meant that whenever he did catch up with the apes, all he got was tantalizing glimpses as they swung from tree to tree. Taking photographs in a rainforest with dim light and only splashes of sunlight means your exposure settings are forever changing. Keeping the camera at its optimum ISO settings with low shutter speeds requires a tripod, but the park authorities don't allow them. So getting a sharp image with a handheld camera was quite the challenge, as you can imagine. But our winner's chance came when this chimpanzee finally flopped down after much pacing and gesticulating during a courtship display. And he lay on his back, hands behind his head, resting for a moment. A ray of light dramatically highlights this candid portrait, capturing a pensive creature, perhaps dreaming of what could have been, says our winner. From South Africa, please put your hands together for Peter Delaney.
Ladies and gentlemen, in 1994, a younger version of me entered these hallowed halls to visit the Wildlife Photographer of the Year exhibition. Those amazing photographs inspired me so much, I moved to Africa to become a wildlife photographer. So I want to say thank you to the Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition for changing my life for the better, and thank you for the honor you've bestowed on me.
And Peter's actually from County Wicklow, down the road from where I used to live, so, you know, extra round of applause for that. Okay, our fifth category this evening is animals in their environment. These atmospheric images evoke a sense of place, with habitat as a major element of the picture, conveying how an animal's environment is an integral part of its life. Understanding the way animals interact with and respond to different environments has been of interest to both scientists and photographers for many years, and it's become all the more important as more and more habitat is lost, altered, and fragmented in an ever-changing modern landscape. The exceptional work presented in this category portrays a variety of habitats and the species that rely on them. These perspectives are helping to advance our understanding of ecology and to influence conservation management and policy makers, a very important category indeed. And this is the winning image. Our photographer camped out, well deserved. Our photographer camped out in Brazil's Cerrado region on the vast, treeless savanna of Emas National Park, waiting for the right conditions to capture the light display of the twinkling termite mounds. When winged termites take to the sky to mate, click beetle larvae living in the outer layers of the termite mounds poke out and they bioluminesce to lure in the insects and feed on them. After days of rain, the photographer was finally able to capture the phenomenon, but he also got an extra treat. Out of the darkness ambled a giant anteater who began to attack the tall, concrete-like mud mound with its powerful claws, looking for the termites living deep inside. Luckily, the wind was in our photographer's favor, and the anteater stayed long enough for him to capture this image, using a wide-angled lens to include the landscape and a low flash and long exposure to include both the stars and the light show. It took our winner 3 seasons to get this perfect image. Our judges thought this was a wonderful, intimate photograph of a giant anteater in its nocturnal environment. All the way from Brazil, please welcome Marcio Cabral.
Good evening for everyone. It's a great honor for me to be here. I would like to thank the judges for electing my photo, and I also like to thanks for the sponsors and the staff of this great event. I hope everyone can visit Brazil one day, and thank you.
Let's all go visit Brazil. Who's with me? Our next 4 categories reveal behaviors that add to our understanding of a species. First up is the behavior amphibians and reptiles category. Capturing creative images of the behavior of cold-blooded animals has its challenges, and often the behavior shown is predation, but not this year. Our finalists have managed to capture very special moments that few of us would ever get to witness otherwise. Strategies of combat, defense, and reproduction are all revealed in these magnificent photographs. Shall I tell you what the winning image is? This is the winning image that really stood out for the jury. It's a popular choice. Leatherbacks are the largest, deepest diving and widest ranging sea turtles in the world that are threatened primarily by fisheries as bycatch, as well as by hunting for human consumption, coastal development, and climate change. Sandy Point National Wildlife Refuge in the US Virgin Islands provides critical nesting habitats for these extraordinary reptiles. Like generations before it, this nesting leatherback turtle shifted its considerable weight with its outsized, strong front flippers and moved steadily back to the ocean. Nesting turtles are not seen every night at Sandy Point, and they were often too far away for our winner to photograph. After 2 weeks of trying, he got the encounter he wanted. Under clear skies, with no distant city lights, he handheld a long exposure under the full moon, artfully evoking a primordial atmosphere in this timeless scene. The judges loved the simplicity of the composition, the glowing moonlight colors, and the movement of the waves pulling away as the leatherback moves slowly towards them. From America and multiple previous winner of this competition, please welcome back Brian Scarry.
Thank you very much. It's always such a great honor to be at this event and to be among such incredible talent in this category and all categories. And it's just a fun event to be at, isn't it? I mean, where else in the world can you hang out at a place where an ancient reptile is treated like a celebrity? And I don't mean me, I mean the turtle. But I especially want to thank National Geographic magazine, who commissioned me to do this story from which this picture appeared, and my editor, Kathy Moran, who's been my partner in crime for nearly 2 decades in these stories that I do, and the National Geographic Society, who also supported this work, specifically Caitlin Yarnell, who's here tonight, who's been a champion of my work on the society side. But it's a great honor always to be here, and my great thanks to the judges of WPY and to the Natural History Museum. Thank you.
On to our next category, behavior invertebrates. This is a category that covers a multitude of creatures, anything without a vertebra. They make up the largest group of animals on Earth, but are some of the smallest species, requiring ingenious macro skills to capture their behavior. This year's awarded images portray just how bizarre, beautiful, and even brutal invertebrates can be. They not only showcase the wide array of chosen subjects and styles, but reflect the variety of vision from the photographers themselves. And this is the winning image. Out of the blue, an aggregation of giant spider crabs the size of a football field appeared. Until recently, such gatherings were unknown in Mercury Passage off the east coast of Tasmania. A single giant spider crab can be hard to spot, algae and sponges often attached to its shell, providing excellent camouflage. But there was no missing this mass marching past, scavenging whatever food lay in their path on the sandy seafloor. The photographer then noticed an odd shape in the distance, moving amongst the writhing crabs, a Maori octopus that seemed equally delighted with the unexpected bounty. Though large, it's the biggest octopus in the southern hemisphere, it was having trouble catching a crab. The stage was set with clear water and sunlight reflected off the sand, and our winner quickly adjusted his camera and framed the octopus as it finally caught its prey. As with all wildlife, it's impossible to plan for the unexpected, especially underwater. But with experience, instinct, and camera readiness, it's nevertheless possible to achieve unique, stunning, and winning images. Please welcome to the stage Australia's Justin Gilligan.
Oh, thanks so much, and thanks to the Natural History competition, the organisers of the competition, and also the jury. This competition just provides an amazing voice for nature, which may not otherwise be heard, so it's really important. I'd also like to thank Australian Geographic for commissioning me to cover a story on Australia's temperate reefs. And finally, I'd like to thank Professor Craig Johnson and his team at the University of Tasmania for allowing me to cover their research for a week and pester them for a week covering their research, and during which time I managed to have this amazing encounter. So, thanks.
And now to the category for behaviour, mammals. This category introduces us to the most diverse group of animals ever to live on Earth. Behaviour is one of the most revealing aspects of animal life, and the judges have selected images that emphasize the characteristics of some of the most emblematic mammals on the planet. Now, of course, good composition, exquisite light, and the right moment were essential elements that our judges were also looking for amongst the many entries, and that our finalists, I'm sure you will agree, achieved just beautifully. And this is our category winner. Amazing. Dozens of sperm whales mingled noisily off Sri Lanka's northeast coast. Our winner knew this was part of something special, a congregation of dozens, perhaps hundreds of social units. Aggregations like these may be a critical part of their complex social lives, but they're rarely reported and still not fully understood. Some 2/3 of sperm whale populations were wiped out during the peak of industrialized whaling in the 20th century. But since a ban on whaling in 1986, just as recently as that, I can't really get my head around that, gatherings like these could be a sign that numbers are finally recovering. Tactile contact is an important part of sperm whale social life, but rubbing against each other also helps to slough off dead skin. So the water was filled with a blizzard of skin flakes. More photographically challenging, perhaps, was the smearing of the camera housing dome with oily secretions from the whales and thick clouds of dung released as they were emerging from the gigantic gathering. Quite the challenge. But through continually swimming to reposition himself and the tolerance of the whales themselves, our photographer got this unique image. Our judges thought that this winning photo had power, action, and drama, and it's a striking image, not only because of the behavior, but also because the photographer is so clearly in amongst the giants. One can almost feel the sonic vibrations and the pressure of the water as the sperm whales sweep by. Winning a category in 2016, please would you welcome back from the USA, Tony Wu.
The first time that I met a sperm whale, it hit me with sonar, put me on its forehead, and took me in its mouth. Since then, sperm whales have done a lot more to me. They've allowed me to babysit. They've shown me given me actually their squid, including giant squid. And they've included me in their group poops, which is a thing among sperm whales. But this image was really special to me because there were hundreds of them for days, 2.5 days, perhaps thousands. It's very difficult to tell once you cross several hundred. But as Liz mentioned, it's a sign of hope for me because the industrialized whaling period, we killed half, 2/3 of the global population. And this is a social activity. In order to have social activity, you actually need to have whales around, or the numbers. And you also need to have enough numbers for the reason to have social activity. So as far as I can tell, there's only 4 other recorded cases of this since the 1940s from credible sources. There may have been others, but my hope is that there will be more of these as we go forward as the whale populations recover. Thank you very much.
Words of hope amongst all the words of sadness that we have to face in the current climate with conservation. So thank you so much. Our final category before dinner takes us to behavior birds. Perhaps more than most animals, birds can offer incredibly rich and diverse opportunities for the photographer, and these captured moments are testament to that. But they're also behaviors that have rarely been documented. It's no small feat to find novel ways of portraying birds in a new light. But our judges feel the winners in this category succeed in achieving just that with great impact. Clearly, each image commanded much patience and a lot of skill to achieve. And this is our winner. Most birds incubate their eggs using the warmth of their bodies. Not so for the Australian brush turkey, one of a handful of birds, the megapods, that do it using an oven. Only the males oversee incubation, and in this case, a male had chosen to create its nest mound near the photographer's home in Sydney, bordering Garrigal National Park. Now, it took a month to build the nest out of leaves, soil, and other debris, at which point it was more than 1 meter high. The brush turkey invited a succession of females to mate, and if the male and its mound were to their liking, they would lay a clutch of eggs in the mound. As the organic matter in the mound decayed, it generated heat, and to check that the incubation temperature was the necessary 33 degrees Celsius, the brush turkey regularly stuck its head in and, using heat sensors in its upper bill, tested a mouthful. In this image, the male is piling on more insulation to raise the temperature. Just look at all those leaves flying in the air behind him. And if the mound gets too hot, it will rake some off. The photographer spent 4 months watching the male and its incubating nest every day from dawn. 4 months. After 7 weeks, and despite egg raids by a large lace monitor lizard, at least a quarter of the 20 or so eggs hatched, kicking and pecking their way out of the mound. A moment in time captured perfectly, making this a well-deserved winning shot. Please, would you welcome Australia's Jerry Pearce.
Good evening, everybody. This is a real special moment in my life. This is something I've worked for a long time. And it's something that I owe almost entirely to the support and encouragement I've had from my wife, Alison, who's here tonight, and from my mentor and good friend, Andrew Forsyth. Thank you very much.
And that brings us to halfway through the awards and to dinner. So enjoy, discuss, share what you've seen, and anticipate what's to come. And I'll see you in about an hour. Thank you.
Welcome back to the studio. I'm Alison, I'm your host, and I'm delighted to be joined tonight by Luc Massey, a wildlife photographer himself. Now, Luc is going to be helping us analyse some of the images that you've just seen. Now, we are live streaming our awards. We've had 9 category winners announced so far. There are more to come, so do stay tuned. But our photographers are now sitting down to dinner, nice and comfortably, and having a few celebratory glasses of bubbly, I think.
Knocking back a few.
Absolutely. Now, this gives us a chance to take a closer look at some of those award-winning images and talk a little bit about why they might have won. Now, remember, we are live, so if you do have any questions for Luc at all, please do send those in, and we'll try and get through as many of those as we can. Now, Luc, 9 winners awarded so far. General impressions, are you happy with the winners so far?
Yeah.
Have they made the right decisions?
Brilliant as always. I mean, like I said beforehand, like it's so hard to whittle it down, but when you finally see those, like the finalists and the winners, it's, yeah, you can see what you're up against, and you kind of think, well, no one's got a chance, you know, but all of those people who entered for probably the same thing, and they entered those things, and then, like I say, when you get that email saying you've made it into Wildlife Photographer of the Year, all the pressure's off, and it's like celebration time, and you just can't wait for October to come around.
Fantastic. Well, we'll take a look at the categories in the order I think that they were announced. So if we start with the Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year.
Sure.
And if we start with our 15 to 17 category. So our winner was Daniel Nelson with his beautiful image here, The Good Life. Now, the judges commented that this was the most memorable image in this category. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of like these guys, they're so human. So I think straight away we can relate to it. You know, you look at it and it's like a young teenager waking up or getting a football or something. And I mean, I've watched primates in action, and there's so much going on. And also in that situation, it's sometimes hard to get the photograph to do them justice. But here, I mean, he's 18 now and he's going on, and like you heard his acceptance speech, it's brilliant. It's like I said beforehand, this is a stepping stone to set you onto if you want to follow a career in wildlife photography, and I think he's about to backpack his way across Africa.
Oh, amazing, amazing.
But after taking such an excellent photo, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more from him over the next few years.
So what about this composition makes it a winning image, do you think?
I think everything, like the facial expression, you've got the eye contact as well. He's kind of looking there. It's almost like he's sharing a joke with the photographer. He's like having a little laugh, or he's going to pick up his breadfruit and about to hurl it at you or something. It's everything about the framing's really nice. You know, you don't want anything too distracting. And there's nothing that I can see here. You know, I take pictures, and all photographers do. You suddenly, there's this annoying thing here or here, but everything's perfect. You've got this out of focus area here, and your eye is immediately drawn over to him. And yeah, I mean, I'd be very pleased if I got a shot like this. And obviously Daniel is very pleased, and he's up there tonight living the dream.
It's a wonderful expression, isn't it? And here we have him. David has Daniel, so let's hear from him directly.
Yeah, no worries.
Congratulations, Daniel. What a beautiful, wonderful image that you captured just there. You must be delighted. You must be so pleased to be here tonight and to be a winner.
I'm definitely delighted. It's a dream come true in a way.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now we've got to talk about your image, because there's something, as Liz was saying, very intimate about that. It's a very rare animal, but you've managed to almost sit in on a moment which most people would only ever dream of seeing, where it almost looks like you were peeping round the corner. Where were you actually when you took that image?
I was in Otsala National Park, which is a national park in the Republic of Congo, and the park specializes in conservation for gorillas, and they have lots of study groups who specialize in certain individual gorillas and the research on them, and that's where I was to take this photo.
Is that important to you, that you're actually getting across a positive message or an important message with your photography, or do you just think, I would love to go and photo some gorillas?
No, I think that I definitely want to try to raise awareness with my photos, especially given a species like the Western lowland gorilla, a species that is of which its population is declining. I think it's amazing how my photo can have such media attention and to, in a way, really get people involved with the species and their situation.
It's a wonderful platform, isn't it, to shine a light on these issues and to reach a huge audience. I think millions of people are likely to see your image, which must be extremely exciting. But at the time, obviously it was very different. What was it like in the rainforest? Was it very hard to get to that point?
Yeah, it's very difficult. First of all, the gorillas themselves are hard to find. We walked for about 3-4 hours through the dense jungle to find them. And once you reach them, the gorillas are not going to pose for you. In fact, the jungle is very dense and it's very dark as well, so it's not an ideal setting for photography. But this certain individual, his name is Kako, and he was particularly relaxed around me, and he just sat about eating his fruit, and he gave me the opportunity to make this photo of him.
That's wonderful. Were you taking photos all the time, or were you waiting for those special moments?
A bit of both. You, as a photographer, of course, you tend to look mainly through your lens when you're surrounded by gorillas, but this individual I really kept an eye on and would sometimes just sit there and look at him and see how he would react to my presence, and eventually got relaxed, and that allowed me to take this picture.
but it's an absolute fantastic image. It's a deserved winner. Congratulations. Just very quickly, you're thousands of miles from the rainforest now, but what's it like here to be in the museum under this incredible blue whale specimen to celebrate your
It's
victory?
amazing. As a matter of fact, I was in the rainforest 2 days ago still, so I came from Africa to London for this award, so it's quite the culture shock, but it's an amazing place, and Hope, the blue whale, is it's just amazing.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations. Enjoy the rest of your night, and thank you for giving us a bit of an insight behind your winning image.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic to hear from the winner there. Some insights into how he got that image as well. Not the easiest of environments to photograph in. Can it be quite tricky for us?
Exactly. He pointed out, like, they're probably one of the hardest places. Nothing is gonna, I mean, they're just going about their general business, you know, and you're looking and, like I say, distracting things as a branch in the way, or just as it looks at you, you step to the side. You've always got to be on your guard for that shot. Like I say, he was looking, watching the behaviour. I think that's the hugely important thing, is recognising that behaviour and when the shot is going to almost make itself for you. Obviously, you can't predict everything, but the more you know about that species, it gets slightly, if you can say, easier. But definitely, and the lighting as well, it's incredibly hard. They're really dense, and it's probably definitely the hardest habitat to photograph in.
Beautiful though, very, very, very great image. He's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, and you can just see how much it means to him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's full of energy. And, yeah.
Now, our next winners in the young photographer categories, both of them, there's quite a lot of humour and character in these images. If we start with Ashley Scully's image, the 11 to 14 category, Stuck In. I mean, you can't help but smile at this image, can you?
Exactly, and that fox must have a really cold head. It's everything about it. You know, the composition is brilliant, but yeah, it's got that comical factor as well, which obviously works, and for the public will really love that too. But the whole story, the battle that fox goes through, you know, we just go home, pull something out the fridge and eat it. That fox is going, it's probably -10, -20, you know, when they're walking around looking for food, hears something and jumps on it. And it's, a really, really good shot. And both of these shots so far, you know, you can see, like, the standard is just increasing. Like, this is the 14 to 17-year-old, but this shot could hold its own against the adults, so to speak.
Absolutely, it's absolutely phenomenal, and it works so beautifully. It's a really, really lovely image, and hopefully we can hear from Ashley. We can get a little bit of insight into how she took this image. Is there likely to be a lot of preparation that went into this?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never been to Yellowstone myself, but of course, yeah, you've got to get your white balance correct, your settings correct, you're exposing for something against a really white background, and you don't want to underexpose. I mean, this bright white, you know, that's what makes the image for me. Everything straight away, you're drawn to that. It really stands out. If your shutter speed was too fast and it's too dark and stuff like that. So there's a lot goes into it, and it's probably really, really cold. I know she was in her car for it, but still you've got to have your window open, so your teeth are chattering, you're shaking. She's probably got gloves on, which is always hard to work a camera as well. So you've got to get everything to come together.
Now, I believe our colleague David has managed to grab Ashley, so let's hear from her about her image.
Ashley, thank you ever so much for giving us your time. You probably want to go back to the delicious dinner that's being served at the moment, but we just wanted to say well done for such a wonderful image that you've taken, Stuck In, and a great name. It's a very funny image, but there's a bit more to it than that. What was the fox actually trying to do at the time?
Thank you so much. I was watching this fox before it pounced into the snow, and because of the harsh environment in Yellowstone National Park, the snow is so deep that the fox had to spend a lot of time listening for it, tunneling under the snow. So it took a lot of patience and my heart racing to be able to wait for it to pounce and finally get that shot. But it actually stayed headfirst into the snow for like 10 to 20 seconds, so I had time to recompose and take that shot.
Fantastic. And your photo's called Stuck In, but it wasn't actually stuck, was it?
No, it wasn't. Eventually it made its way out. But I think that while its head was under the snow, the mouse had escaped and it was trying to find it again. And then once it realized it was unsuccessful, it backed out.
It's incredible to think that they can survive those winters. I'm guessing it gets quite cold in Yellowstone.
Yeah, definitely. When I was there, it was like below zero and my hands were freezing, but like I had the beanbag with my camera out the window, and I had to be patient, and we were the only car there, and it was such a special moment. It was right after a blizzard, so like I knew I had to wait.
Now, Ashley, you're very young, but you've been taking photos for a very long time now. What is it about photography and wildlife photography that inspires you to go out and to take these images?
Well, I think my main goal is to share my work with the world and for other people to see experiences that I've had that like the average eye doesn't normally see. So my goal is to capture intimate behavior of wildlife that people don't normally see.
Well, you've certainly done that by being one of the winners here tonight. Before I send you back to enjoy your dinner, what advice would you give to other sort of young wildlife photographers to take better wildlife images?
Well, definitely to have patience and to never give up. And you can take a photo anywhere in your backyard or on vacation or anywhere. Like, always try new angles.
Excellent advice. And I know you take a lot of photos of foxes. In fact, my sister has one of your photos. Mama's coming, is that right? Of foxes, baby foxes, and the mother and baby foxes. Yes, beautiful photo. What is it about foxes that you like to take photos of?
Well, foxes are really what got me started in my passion for wildlife photography. They're all over my backyard, and I was just fascinated with seeing this animal that looked just like my dog, but like wild and right there. So all throughout my childhood, my goal was to capture fox photos, and so since then I've just been pushing to get better photos of them, and I've just been fascinated in their personality and their ability to pounce and hunt in the deep snow just like that.
Wonderful. And finally, Ashley, before we let you go back, what's it like to be here tonight as a winner, knowing that your photo is going to be seen by millions of people, and what's it like to celebrate that here in the Natural History Museum?
Well, it's definitely such a big honor to be here, and I'm so glad that I'm going to be able to share my work with the world and be able to share these moments that people don't normally see.
Excellent. Well, you've certainly done that. Well done again, Ashley. I will let you go back to your dinner. Thank you.
Great to hear from Ashley there. Now, she's obviously spent a lot of time watching her favourite subject. Is that crucial? How important is it to really know your subject well, their behaviour, their habits?
I think if you're really going to, I mean, everyone, so often you get lucky, you know, there's that one shot that you're just walking along and you get it. But most of the time, you've got to put that work and you put the groundwork in. For example, like when I start work on a subject or project, I research it, I read up on them, I speak to scientists, I watch footage, look at other photos. And just build that kind of knowledge in the back of your mind. So like you say, like Ashley, she was there, sat in the car, she's watching a fox, and you kind of, its ears will be twitching, it'll be looking at certain spots, and you're ready for it to pounce. But if you didn't know that, you know, you might, it's a fox just walking through the snow, and then it does it, and you're like, oh no, settings are all wrong, you're not pointing your camera. So, you know, it's definitely so important to kind of get that, read the behaviour, and then that's when you're really going to get the shots, because you know what's coming next.
Absolutely. And when you go out, do you tend to have a particular shot you want to get in mind, or is it a bit more organic than that?
Sometimes, but that sometimes can be a little bit dangerous. I'm sure actually like that is the bonus, you know, in the snow, foxes do that, and I've seen them do it before, and photos from Yellowstone showing that kind of behaviour. So it's, if there's snow on the ground, you're a fox, and you're a fox, and there's a fox, the chances are you might get lucky and see that. But yeah, it's all luck at the end of the day.
Very, very important. Now let's take a look at the final winner in the Young Photographer category.
Years old.
I know,
Crazy.
that's mind-blowing, isn't it? So this is a Katerina Bea's image, which I find just so pleasing.
It's brilliant, like everything about it, you know, you've got the gull looking over the top. I mean, I don't know what I was doing when I was 5.5, but I certainly wasn't taking award-winning pictures.
Definitely not, definitely not.
And everything, you know, again, exposure's perfect. It's like almost this ethereal, like aggressive-looking angels, you know. Gulls aren't painted in the best light all the time, and like they said, like she was scared of them at first, but she managed to get a really, really cool shot. And looking up at them, and it's just, again, it's a bit like, it's quite comical, you know. It reminds me of like the Finding Nemo gulls, like mine. They're all swooping in.
Definitely. And it's that type of thing, is it, that kind of elevates an image and turns it into a winner, do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I look at it, I kind of think 5.5 years old. That is nuts. Like, I'd be pleased if I'd taken that photo, and I'm 26. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
Who knows? In 21 years' time, we might as well retire, and Katerina's taken over. Could well be,
because as we know, this competition can really launch careers, can't it? It can be absolutely vital. Exactly,
it's that stepping stone, and you know, you just keep going and going from there. And there's people like Bent's mate. He's in Wildlife Photographer of the Year almost every year. and he's one of those people that started off, and you've kind of seen them, and you recognise, for someone like me that I've seen over kind of the 10 years that I've been looking at wildlife photography, the same names keep cropping up from the adult ones, and that's the thing, that's the next step. Also, Katerina's still going to be in the childhood ones, but like Daniel, next year he's up against all the other adults, but I'm sure with images like his, you know, he's in with a chance for sure.
And is it quite important to start young, do you think, as a wildlife photographer, or does it?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's fantastic that, I mean, lots of people are going for like Pokemon and stuff, so the fact that there's these 5.5-year-olds out taking photos of wildlife, for me, I think is absolutely brilliant, and I'd love it if more people are doing that. But I don't think so. I was lucky that I started when I did, but I know plenty of other phenomenal photographers that have had full-time jobs, then gone on to be wildlife photographers, or guys that do have full-time jobs but kind of take it up as a hobby, and they're taking award-winning pictures, creating projects that put professional photographers to shame. So I think anyone can do it. You know, it's a huge pick up a camera, get out there, learn your craft, and experiment.
Absolutely, it's what it's all about. Now we're going to go back onto the ceremony floor for David, because I believe he's got one of the former chair judges.
Oh, okay. Oh, there he is, Mark.
Oh, there he is. Oh,
yeah. Mark.
I'm joined here by Mark Carwadine, who is one of the ex-chair of judges for the Wildlife Photography of the Year competition. So we've spoken to a few of the photographers so far, but it'd be fascinating to get the insight from the judges' perspective. Now, there were 50,000, more or less, images submitted to the competition this year. How on earth do you begin to whittle down those to around 100 finalists?
It's really hard work, but fantastic fun. We basically have 3 stages of judging. So as the chairman, you have the great pleasure of going through the whole lot. So every year I would see every single image that's entered. And then you have a second stage where you whittle it down fairly quickly. And a third stage, which I think of all the stages is the stage I enjoyed the most, where you're in a dark room with a whole range of judges, all experts in the field, all professional wildlife photographers and editors and what have you. And you project all the images and you analyse them. So you actually have time to debate them. And at that stage, there may be 1,500 images, something like that, give or take. But each one that comes up, we talk about. And of course, it's a very subjective thing. I think one of the great pleasures of the competition is that no one agrees. And, you know, I used to love after the winners were announced, going around the exhibition and listening to members of the public looking and enjoying the exhibition and saying, oh, the judges made a mistake here, they don't know what they're talking, they should have done this and they should have done that. And it is a bit like that in the judging, because at that stage you have an incredible selection of outstanding images, any one of which would be a worthy winner, and you've got to whittle them down. And so, you know, you're debating late into the night and finally come to a decision which everybody agrees on. But I always felt quite guilty that we had to drop images, because as I say, at that stage so many of them are fantastic. Shame we can't have more competitions, they can all win something, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Well, I think now we do have a People's Choice Award, which is going to be run early next year. So, because as you say, there are so many wonderful images, and it seems unfair that not all of them are given this wonderful platform that we've got here. You said it's very subjective when you're choosing the winning images, but are there certain key things that all the judges are looking for when you're looking for those really quality wildlife images?
Yeah, there's 3 things: originality, originality, and originality. And basically, what you're looking for is something that you haven't seen before. And, you know, you can take wonderful pictures and you can look at 1,500 fantastic pictures, but if some of them have been done before, that obviously isn't what you want as an overall winner. So you're looking for something that maybe a subject we haven't seen before, or a bit of behaviour, or a way of photographing it. Something that as soon as it comes up on the screen knocks your socks off and think, God, I've never seen that. And it's all about originality.
Fantastic. And just finally, are you enjoying the photos that we've seen so far and the winners that you've seen? Is there any favourites so far of those that you've seen?
Oh my goodness, it's so difficult. They're all wonderful. I think, personally, I do a lot of underwater photography, and I know how difficult it can be to get anything, you know, worthwhile at all. So I think possibly, so far, Tony Wu's picture of the massive group of sperm whales coming right past him really sticks in my mind. But there are so many others. I mean, you know, the 5.5-year-old's picture, I've forgotten her name, unfortunately. She took a wonderful picture of the herring gulls behind the boat. I mean, it's incredible. I mean,
Katerina, yeah.
I sit here and think, oh my God, I wish I'd taken that. Oh no, I wish I'd taken that. Oh, I've never seen that before. It's good fun. I love it.
Wonderful. Well, it's fantastic that you're still able to enjoy the photos almost without the pressure of being one of the judges this year. I won't keep you anymore, Mark. Thank you ever so much for giving that perspective.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of the evening, and we look forward to finding out who the winning image is going to be.
Thanks very much.
So it is really intriguing to hear there from the judges, getting a bit of an insight into the process itself. And it's absolutely right, it's a very subjective thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
What speaks to one person doesn't necessarily speak to another.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the judging room. some of the friendships that are made and break. No, I'm sure everyone gets on well at the end of it. But yeah, it must be so hard because photography is so subjective. I mean, I look at images sometimes, I think exactly what Mark was saying there. You know, you walk around and you might be like, oh, I could, and you see it on social media now as well, especially like on Twitter tonight. Probably you can hashtag WPY53 and there'll be people, you know, all going back and forth, maybe on the comments on below this, like, oh, I don't like that one, I took something better, or I love it. And like Mark said, like that, seeing that fresh stuff and the really exciting new things. And what a great bow tie as well.
I know, fantastic bow tie.
Find out where you got that from. But yeah, just so much going on, you know. It's really, really cool that the images, well, we're going to talk about more of them. There's certain ones in here that I've got really excited about when I've seen them, and yeah.
Now, a little earlier, we did speak to one of the judges, Matthias, so I think we're going to hear from him now.
I think the judging panel is sort of diversified in the sense where we complement each other and we have great fun, and it's a lot of laughs, honestly, and we have a blast doing it. It's a very serious job, and it's time-consuming. It's quite tiresome at times, but it's great fun. It's truly a privilege. We have different, sometimes I feel different aesthetics as a jury, which can lead to conflicts of interest when saying yes to one frame or no to another frame. But in general, I think it drives the process forward in a very, in a good way. And I think we are boiling down this massive amount of frames into the golden nuggets that we're looking for.
Now let's move on to our adult category winners. So our first winner is in the portraits category, this amazing image by Peter Delaney called Contemplation. I really love this image.
Everything about it. I mean, look at the light catching the eyes and the hands, and hearing the story. But I mean, it's an incredible picture. And then hearing the story, like we were saying about Danielle's picture, it's so hard in the forest to photograph. And then you find out that he's not, I don't know why, but you're not allowed a monopod or a tripod to photograph this guy. So your shutter speed's really low. Everything's against you. And then you take a knockout image like this that really shows off. He's an incredible photographer and just everything about it. Like, I think you can look at that picture and everyone's felt like that, you know, hands behind the head, relax a little bit. It's, again, you can relate to it.
Definitely, definitely. Now, we do have Peter over in the award ceremony, so we can get some insight into this image. So let's have a chat with him now.
Peter, firstly, congratulations on your image. It's a really wonderful portrait of a species which needs as much recognition and as much photos taken of it as we can get. You've called it Contemplation, which is a lovely name for it. It certainly looks like it's doing that. You were there at the time. What do you think was going through the chimpanzee's mind at that time?
Okay, well, thank you for having me. This image was taken in Kibale National Forest in Uganda. I was on assignment and I was trying to capture some unique photographs of chimpanzees. After 3 or 4 hours, I was getting very despondent. No chimpanzees to find. And eventually I came across a male. And his name is actually Totti. Apparently the Rangers named him after the Italian football star. And Totti was doing his best to try and coax a female down from the canopies. And he did everything, gestures, cries, you name it, he did it. He tried his best to get the female down. But she scorned him. She basically turned her back and didn't look at him. And then Totti just gave up. And he just lied back on his back and put his hands behind his head. And I think he just dreamt of what could have been.
Unrequited Love.
Unrequited Love.
So we've had Great Gatsby, Les Mis, and now the story of Totti.
Exactly, the story of Totti.
Now, presumably you were taking lots of images at the time. Were you waiting for a particular moment, or is it later when you go back through that you think that's a winning shot there?
There are some times as a wildlife photographer, and I'm quite an emotional photographer, you know, when something pulls at my heartstrings. And I can't explain it, but it's almost like a small adrenaline rush. You immediately know that's the one you want to get. And you've got this kind of heightened awareness. And exactly when he lied back, and it was only for a fraction of seconds that he did that. And then he was up and he was gone again. But at that moment, the minute I pressed the shutter, I knew I'd got the image.
Do you think that is an instinct that you're born with, or is that something that you can train to know when that moment is to press the shutter?
15 years of training. You know, I believe that if you want to be a good photographer, you have to practice and practice. And you have to not just learn your craft, but you've also got to learn from other people, other artists, other photographers. And I think that's when you yourself will know what a good image.
One of the most striking things about your photo, I mean, that's shot in black and white, is the texture that's there, the light and the dark. How on earth did you manage to get such depth to your photo in what must have been very difficult situations?
Well, within the rainforest, I mean, it's very dim lighting, and there's splashes of light that come through the rainforest canopy. So I just used that then in the digital darkroom then to create sort of contrast. And the whole idea with when you're creating a black and white fine art print is to create an area of contrast to lead the viewer's eye to the most important parts. And the most important parts was the eye and the hands.
And those are both the bits where there's that texture. Now, it might seem like a silly question, but you knew that it was a winning image or a very good image. What's the inspiration to actually submit these into the competition in the first place?
The Wildlife Photographer of the Year is the benchmark for wildlife photography. So as far as I'm concerned, if you want to have the best sort of photography out there, entering this competition is great exposure.
The recognition and the audience that you'd get. Now, I'm going to let you go back to your dinner any second, but finally, we've been asking some of our photographers what that one tip would be to budding wildlife photographers out there in terms of taking better images.
Practice, practice, practice. I know it's a cliche, but that's the only way to get better. And also, like I said, keep looking at the work of other artists, be it a sculptor, a painter, doesn't matter what the medium is. Keep looking at art, and eventually everything begins to sink in, and then you'll recognize a great image when it happens.
Wonderful, fantastic advice. Thanks ever so much, Peter. Congratulations again. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Okay, thank you very much.
It truly is a wonderful image, isn't it, Peters?
Yeah.
The light is phenomenal, and as the judges said, it is a very accessible, very relatable image, particularly when you hear the story behind it as well.
Didn't get lucky, and now he's
Exactly.
No, it's definitely, and I think that's one thing that obviously the judges are going to look for as well. You want impactful images, stunning images, but also things that people can relate to. And what I really liked in his acceptance speech as well is that he first walked into the NH in 1994 or something. I was 3 years old, and that's when he first came, and now how many years later he's here in the competition. That just shows how much it means to someone. But a shot like that, really, it just shows, it's one of my favourites from what I've seen so far, and everything about it, like you say, the textures, the light in the hands, the eyes, it's a beautiful image. And I don't know what it was up against when the judge going in front of the judges, but for me, I think if I was a judge, that makes it a little bit easier when you've got a shot like that jumps out at you.
Yeah, it absolutely jumps out, doesn't it? Now, the framing is really lovely on this as well. So how important is that composition, that framing, knowing what to include and what to exclude?
Exactly. Well, practice, practice, practice. Because I mean, I've been having this conversation recently about my own photography. But yeah, you're always looking through that viewfinder and thinking, you don't want that distraction. You want that chimpanzee, he is going to be the focus. That's what your eyes are drawn to straight away. So you've got to be looking at all the time. Is there something behind? Is there a branch coming? Is there an annoying grass strand? And you've got to be looking at that, because we can't use Photoshop, there's no cloning out or anything. So you've got to get it bang on when you click that shutter. And yeah, you've got to have the chimp that he sits there perfectly, and like he's not I can't remember if he's looking sideways or whatever, but the light in the eyes as well, like I said, that dappled light again, I've waited for hours when that chimp was slightly here or something, and the sun was here, and then so he moves his head perfectly. So I don't know how long Pete had to wait for that shot for the light to be on it, or it just fell on him and he was just looking up at his girls in the tree that were having none of him.
Yeah, I'm sure I've had many a night out where I've looked like that afterwards.
The room spinning.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the fact that it's monochrome, black and white, that was quite an interesting choice. It's kind of quite moody, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite moody, and it's really interesting, obviously, that you've got the black and white category in the competition as well.
Yeah.
And this has made it so it's standalone, it's beaten that and gone into its own thing. And yeah, I think it kind of harks back to the film days, I think. But sometimes an image, not all images work in black and white, but obviously that one does, and it's a fine line. You can't just click, switch to monochrome. It's not as easy as that.
Now moving on to our behaviour categories, we have this fantastic image here from Brian Skerry, amphibians and reptiles. Absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of my favourites, I think. It's so beautiful.
I'm just jealous that you saw a leatherback turtle, let alone, like, it's, yeah, one of those, these huge, like tanks of the sea. And again, I mean, what behaviour, that seems to be like the constant theme in all of these, that's what it revolves around, making a good photograph. But also luck, like when you hear his description, and that one, you've got to get a turtle at the right time, it's got to be close to you, the sky's got to be right, there can't be any distracting lights, all these things add up, and it's like the ingredients to make the perfect photograph, but some of the things you have no control over those ingredients.
Absolutely.
And yes, it's brilliant.
Hold that thought, because we do indeed have Brian, so we can actually hear from him.
Shot. Brian, congratulations. Yes. It's a beautiful image of a beautiful species.
Thank you.
Now, you've called the image an ancient ritual. Perhaps you can start by telling us exactly what that ritual is.
Leatherback turtles have a lineage that dates back more than 100 million years. These animals are older than most dinosaurs that we think about. There was a time in their history where they were crawling out of the water and Tyrannosaurus Rex was running by, and today in some places they crawl out and see condominiums. So they've been through an awful lot. And the ritual is that a leatherback turtle is the only species of sea turtle that is in perpetual motion from the moment it enters the ocean as a tiny hatchling. It never stops swimming, except for the females, who at maybe about age 30, we believe, come back to the nesting beaches where they hatched, and they do this ritual of nesting. And it's usually about a 2-hour process maybe, and they dig a nest and they get in position, they lay their clutch of eggs, they cover it up, and then slowly, laboriously sort of crawl back into the ocean. And I timed my coverage to photograph it under a full moon, because I didn't want to use white light that might otherwise disturb the animal.
That's one of the questions I was going to ask, because the way it's shot, it's almost like a painting, almost impressionistic in the colour and the sort of soft edges that it's got. How much of that is a choice, and how much of it is actually based on the settings and not wanting to disturb the animal?
Well, I think, I had done this over a few nights, and I had seen some of my earlier results and was able to adapt and try to fine-tune the ultimate photograph. On the first nights I was getting some light from the city in the distance, so I was hoping for a better location. You can't control where the turtle's going to come out, but on that night, everything sort of lined up with a clear sky and no extraneous light, the turtle in the right place, and then it's a bit of just working it and sort of hand-holding this 10-second or more exposure and hoping that, everything sort of works. But, you're always pleasantly surprised when everything sort of appears on that image in the end.
And we've been asking a few of the photographers, straight away once you've taken that image, do you think that's a really good one? That's an excellent shot I've got.
Thanks to digital photography, you can look at the monitor and see how it looks. And even if it's a small frame there, you have a pretty good sense that, this could be the one. I'm very OCD about it, so I'll be looking at all corners of the frame and make sure everything is there, because National Geographic doesn't allow any sort of removing or manipulation. Of course, neither does Wildlife Photographer of the Year. So, to have a good image, it's got to really be perfect as shot. And so in that case, I felt pretty confident that night that was going to be a publishable frame.
Is there any chance of disturbing an animal like that? If it's waited 30 years to get to this beach, the last thing you want to do is to disturb it.
That's a great question, and I'm very mindful of that when I'm doing this work. I usually work with scientists and researchers, and there was a researcher, Dr. Kelly Stewart, right alongside me that night. I go overboard to make sure that I'm not disturbing the animal. And to answer that question, I don't think there was any disturbance in this case, or any of the nights that I was shooting those animals. They really get into a bit of a trance. It's like there's hardwiring on that little brain of theirs that just tells them what to do, and they're somewhat oblivious. In fact, researchers come in and, will often, not in this case, but sometimes put flipper tags, or they'll weigh the animal, and they do, sort of this science that you might think would disturb the animal, but it doesn't seem to have any negative impact at all.
Now, you've been very fortunate to travel the world and take photos of some wonderful animals, often marine animals. Why choose the leatherback turtle as a subject, and why did you want to submit this image in particular?
Well, in this case, it was part of a story that I was doing, and I proposed the story to National Geographic with the premise that we would use 2016, which was the centennial anniversary of the National Park Service in the United States, as an opportunity to look to the next century in protecting our oceans. So I was working in mostly habitats that were not yet protected, but I chose to go to Buck Island in the U.S. Virgin Islands on St. Croix, because, not Buck Island, I'm sorry, it was St. Croix, and because this place had been protected in 1961 by President Kennedy, and it was thriving. So I wanted to have a range of animals, and the leatherback, is being this ancient, sort of enigmatic, charismatic megafauna, was a species that I really wanted to show that conservation had worked for, that, because of the efforts that were taken years ago in this place, wildlife was doing better than maybe in surrounding areas. So that was part of my reasoning for that coverage.
Well, we're currently, I don't know if you noticed, stood underneath a 25-metre blue whale skeleton. It's a very similar story there, the hope that, from the brink of extinction. So it's very fitting, actually, that yours was one of the winners tonight, and that we're celebrating it here. Final question. How much of a concern is it of the conservation message, and how much are you thinking about the aesthetic? Because yours is a great example of doing both those things, and perhaps more powerful for it.
Well, conservation and sort of environmental themes in terms of conservation and problems in the ocean have become a big part of my work over the years. I've had this evolution, like many photographers in the beginning, I just wanted to make nice images, and then along the way I saw a lot of degradation occurring. So most of the work that I do today, in one way or another, has a focus on conservation, but it's only going to work with people if you have a good frame. I mean, it's still ultimately, at the end of the day, has to be a good picture. So I think you want to bring all of those elements together, and when it happens, it doesn't always happen, but when it does, it can be quite powerful.
And they're talking points as well. They get people discussing these subjects. We're going to let you go back to your theatre any second, but one of the things we've been asking people is, what one tip would you give for budding wildlife photographers, just to take slightly better images?
Well, I think, the first thing is to really, I'll give a couple of tips. I mean, first of all, do your homework, really do your research, because it does pay off. The more you know about an animal, its behavior, where to find it, the best times of year, think about how you're going to photograph it, do all of that ahead of time, and then just don't give up. I mean, it really does take patience. I mean, I think that's been said a lot in this competition, and it's an underlying theme, but it can't be overstated, because it really takes time to get these great photographs that we see here tonight, or historically any time. And so I would say, know your subject, work very hard, don't quit, and when the opportunity presents itself, make sure that you're ready. Have sort of everything dialed in, and be ready to give it everything you have.
That's some wonderful advice. Thank you ever so much, Brian. Congratulations again, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Some really great insights there, absolutely. A couple of quite interesting points that came out there. One thing was the idea of kind of ethical photography and not interfering too much with your subject. That's something very, very important for Wildlife Photographer of the Year, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a huge talking point in the wildlife photography world, is ethics, be it disturbance, because obviously most of the time, you just being there, you could be altering that behaviour. I know you use hides and stuff. I mean, And turtles, like say, 30 years. I mean, you think the things that turtle's gone through, what it's seen, and then the stress, it's lugging itself up. It's this weightless. It's the only time in their life they feel how heavy they are. I mean, I think leatherback turtles weigh like a ton or so. They're huge, and it's lugging itself up that beach, and they get into a trance once they're egg laying. But of course, that's no excuse to then disturb it. So, but that's that moment, that the next generation of leatherback turtles rely on that going well, but you want to document that to show people. So it is a huge amount of pressure, and there's nothing worse than possibly doing, even if you don't mean to, so you've got all that going on in your head, and you're trying to take pictures. But as you can see, that's, like you said, working alongside scientists, which is a huge difference, but that's another way of kind of controlling that. You've got people that, no matter how much research done, these guys know it inside out, so they're always going to offer you guidance as well. But no, of course, ethics are always going to play a part, and it's like an unwritten rule almost that you don't want to disturb it. Nothing should come before the animal takes all priority. Your photo comes second. So I mean, there's been moments where like it could be the best shot, but you don't want to make that noise or whatever. There's different little things that could cause a disaster, and you don't even mean to do it.
Yeah. So responsible photography.
Yeah, and
really key.
You can take it whether you're a professional photographer or a person with your iPhone. You go into Richmond Park and it's the rut at the minute. Don't go walking up to a load of deer that are rutting, because you're probably going to end up coming off worse. And you're also, you can get close to them, but you don't need to be that close. And again, it's just that level of disturbance. You don't need to do it.
Now, let's look at another of our winners in the behaviour category. This one, birds. This is Jerry Pierce with the Incubator Bird. So what makes this a winning image?
The behaviour, I mean, there's such megapods, they're really weird, Like you think of a bird, it builds a nest, and they take turns, or the female sits and it incubates. These guys, they basically dig a hole. They're like a reptile, like that's how crocodiles and snakes and stuff, they put their eggs in rotting piles of vegetation. And these guys, I mean, I don't know, I'm not a megapod scientist, I don't know why they've done it. I assume evolution, they've come from the dinosaurs or whatever. And so to witness that behaviour, I've never seen a shot of a megapod. I've seen the mounds, and they are huge, you're kind of like, what's that? In the middle of like Darwin, I saw one. And you think, what is that? And then these guys struck their way through. But just to be able to get that kind of intimate as well, it's close. I know you shot it on a remote. And the big thing there in the description of the image was just how much time he put into this. I think it was watching it dawn till dusk for 4 straight months.
Exactly.
And, I mean, this is the reward. But that it just goes to show, like you said, you can walk out and maybe get that winning shot by pure luck, but also 4 months, you think of the hours put in there, day after day after day, watching it, getting to know your subject, working out, I'm sure, because that was in a remote, he worked out, that's where they go, and when it's too hot, they kick that, and you're just waiting for that moment.
Now, I believe we do have Jerry on the awards floor, so we can hear from him now.
Jerry, congratulations on a much-deserved winner of the bird behaviour category, and it's the first time winner for you, isn't it? You've not won one of the Wildlife Photographer Awards before. How does it feel to be a winner in the 2017 category?
It feels amazing. It's really special. I think it's more special because I've tried a few years now, and to finally get the success, and for an image which I've worked so hard on. I worked on this for 4 months, so to get the results after that, it's a really nice feeling.
I'd like to ask you a little bit more about those 4 months, because many of the photographers here have travelled the world to capture their images, but this one was pretty much on your doorstep, wasn't it? How did you find the nest, and why did you decide it was something that was worth taking such a photo of?
Well, first of all, having something on the doorstep is a photographer's dream, really. It makes life so much easier. But it was just something which I noticed some behaviour in the local environment. I saw the kind of stuff that was going on and thought, this could be well worth making a documentary, a photographic documentary.
And you said it took 4 months. Were you constantly taking photos during those 4 months, or were you waiting for something in particular, the action shot that you've got there?
Well, I was trying to document all the different behaviours around the breeding season, which lasted for the 4 months. So I was taking pictures, every morning, pretty much for those 4 months.
Now, it's a beautiful and compelling action shot in its own right, but it's when you find out a little bit of the backstory of the actual behaviour of the bird that it really becomes quite a sort of more fascinating, interesting photo. You call it the Incubator Bird. Perhaps you could explain exactly why it's got that title.
Well, it's not my term, but the Incubator Bird is given that name because they're one of the few species of bird which don't build a nest. They build an oven to keep their eggs warm. And that's how they get their name.
It's a handful of birds that are actually doing that, isn't it? Now, one thing I noticed is it's quite dark in the background of your photo, but the bird is beautifully lit. Are you having to sort of set up quite an intricate lighting there, or was that actually natural lighting that you got?
No, it's pretty dark, and it's pre-dawn. All of the action happens just around dawn, so I did need to set up a couple of extra flash units to add light to the foreground, whilst keeping the background nice and dark and keeping away, especially when the light started to just encroach a little bit. I wanted to keep that away from the picture and just keep the focus on the bird.
And that's a skill in itself, isn't it? Getting that lighting right and also not disturbing the subject in the first place.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty tolerant bird, but you're exactly right on that one. It did take a bit of work. Fortunately, it was worth it in the end, so I'm really pleased I made the effort.
Excellent. And something that we've been really interested in is actually why you choose to submit the images to the wildlife photographer in the first place. What is it about this competition that makes you want to submit your photos?
Oh, I think the life of a wildlife photographer is, it can be pretty lonely. You're doing your work and you like to get some feedback and you like to get some acknowledgement that you are doing a good job. If you've got an office job, you've got a boss maybe or colleagues who can tell you're doing a good job. This is the kind of thing, especially from your peers, which says, you know what, this is worth doing. You're actually putting in the hours and it's well worth doing.
I'm delighted for you. It's quite a pat on the back, I think, and it's well deserved. It's a very striking and wonderful image. Just before we let you go back to your dinner, we've been asking as well, if you were to give one tip to an aspiring wildlife photographer, what would that be?
I guess get your camera out of the bag and take pictures. The more you take, the more chances you've got of getting a good picture.
That seems to be a common theme. There's no shortcuts here. Well deserved again. Congratulations, and do enjoy the rest of your evening.
Great to hear about that image. It's a really, really striking image, and it was interesting to find out how exactly he got it and where he was as well.
Yeah.
It goes to show you don't always have to go miles and miles to get a really good image.
That's it, backyard photography, it's close to home. That's like when you can really focus on it. And there's been shots in the past, there's a trend through WPY, Richard Peters, Sam Hobson, they both photograph foxes a stone's throw from their house. And they're just two that I can think of, and obviously this as well. And there's so much going on, even in the UK and further afield. Some people in the UK don't think we've got the most exciting wildlife, but we have. And it's also in our backyard, but all around the world, you never know what you're going to see. And that's it. I mean, he had a crazy bird like that in his back garden, and the bonus is it actually makes it a little bit easier. Okay, you've got to put the time in, but the fact that it's there, you can just you roll out of bed, start photographing. You don't have to get in the car and drive for hours, or lug equipment through the jungle, and you're sweating and you're dehydrated, you're being bitten by things and stung by things. You just sit with a cup of coffee and start taking pictures.
That said, it was still 4 months every single day.
Yeah, 4 months of doing that. So, but no, it's
what's the longest it's taken you to get a shot?
Well, I spent 90 days looking for an Iberian lynx before I got like a face-to-face encounter, and that was a lot of kicking myself about to give up, and then finally having that incredible encounter, and that's when it makes it worth it. And I'm sure he was the same 4 months of it, and then when he got that shot, he knew, I'm sure he had in the back of his mind the shot he wanted, and when that flashed up on the back of the camera, it's like job done.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now we have here another of our winners, this stunning image. This is animals in their environment. Marcio Cabral, the Night Raider. So this is absolutely beautiful, isn't it?
It's an incredible shot, and I actually saw this shot recently. I was in Brazil, I just got back from there, and I was just researching giant anteaters, and I can't remember where I saw it, and as soon as I saw it I thought, why has that not been any competitions? And then tonight, here it is. I mean, everything about it, what are the chances? And again, it's like you've been trying, I think, for 3 years or 4 years of getting. You got to get the rain. You got to get the clear skies. You got to get the glow bugs glowing so that the termites come in so they can eat them. Then you got to get a giant anteater amble in and start feeding on the termites as well. It's just everything's got to come together, and it's reward for all that time. And for me, at the minute, between the chimpanzee and this, that's my two favourites. But I think, you've got the glowworms reflecting the star, but it's like mirroring it. It's the same, and the anteater. And okay, there's a bit of ghosting because, you know, some people, they might think, oh, you know, it's technical, but technically for me, I think it's brilliant. You've got to have a long exposure, so you're not going to get the sharpest shot there, but you can see what's going on. And yeah, good work on that anteater strolling in. I would have given it a high five afterwards.
Definitely. And we do have Marcio, so we can hear from him himself.
Marcio, firstly, congratulations on a much-deserved winner of the category. It's a beautiful, beautiful photo. I would just like to know how much of it was planned and how much of it was just luck to get that incredible anteater that you had.
Thank you. Quanto foi planejado e quanto foi sorte sua ter a foto?
Bom, eu estive durante 3 anos fotografando esse local.
He was during 3 years taking pictures from this place.
E neste ano eu passei 5 noites com muita chuva.
And this year he passed like 5 days with a lot of rain.
E no último dia eu consegui fazer essa foto. Eu estava fotografando apenas o cupinzeiro e o tamanduá apareceu.
He was trying just to take. He was trying to do some other picture, not this one. He was trying to do just the
bioluminescence.
That place we found the anteater, and suddenly the anteater came through and posed for the picture.
When you saw the anteater, did you think, yes, this is it, this is the moment? Or did you think it was ruining your photo?
Você achou que estava arruinando sua foto? Foi yes.
Não, foi yes, but é uma coisa que tinha que ser muito rápido porque ele só conseguia fazer uma foto e logo depois ele foi embora.
It was very fast. He came. He just could done this one picture. He could not do another pictures. Was the only picture he have done from this anteater.
So there is some luck when it comes to taking photos. Now the other thing is the color, the lights. The atmosphere is very beautiful and enchanting almost. How do you get the effect of the light from the stars and the light from the beetles at the same time?
Como é que você conseguiu a luz das estrelas e a luz da luminescência dos vagalumes ao mesmo tempo?
Esta era uma época de chuva, então era difícil ver as estrelas. Nesse dia eu estava fotografando apenas a bioluminescência.
Yeah, he was just shooting that night the lightning from the fireflies. Because of the rain, the stars was not a good day to shoot the stars.
Eu utilizei uma longa exposição e 2 flashes com, como se diz, um difusor para a luz ficar mais fraca e ser o suficiente para equalizar a luz do primeiro plano com o plano das estrelas.
He used a long exposition to capture the light for a long time, so he stayed there just capturing the light and equalize what he was seeing in natural view and what he could create it with the light he was getting inside the camera.
There's so much more preparation than we realize for some of these photos. Now my last question, when you're cold and wet and it's raining and you've been there for a very long time, what is it that keeps you staying there and not packing up and going home?
Quando você está lá tomando chuva, no meio do mato, lá todo lascado, o que faz você continuar tirando foto e adorando aquele momento?
Cada foto que você tira, você vai tendo uma nova surpresa e exatamente quando você vê a foto no visor, te dá mais vontade de ficar mais tempo, apesar de ser um local não muito confortável.
Even in a bad weather, in a bad place, all the bad conditions against you, when he takes the first picture and he sees a good picture, he goes for the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. Yeah. When he sees it, he's there for 3-4 days.
Wow, you're surviving off your photography. That's incredible. This is your first time to London. Oh, well, it's first time to the museum here. What do you think of the award ceremony, the setting? Are you enjoying your evening?
O que você acha da cerimônia, da tua noite aqui?
Para mim foi uma grande honra ter sido premiado nesse concurso. É incrível esse museu e hoje estou achando tudo fantastic.
He's very honored to be here. He loved this. Well, this is a new room, right? The whale is a new room. He loved it, and he really expects to be here next year.
Fingers crossed. I hope you are. Thank you for your image. Thank you for coming and talking to us tonight. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you too.
Oh, nice to hear from him. What a charming man.
Yeah, and I think he's right. I want to be there next year, the year after that.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, it's not easy as that, but yeah, once you've been here once, it is. You just can't get enough of it.
Now, the judges did refer to that image as an incredibly lucky shot. And we've already heard that luck plays sometimes quite an important role in wildlife photography.
Yeah, and you've got to be ready for it as well, you know, because I think if you're sat there, I mean, I've had instances, and you've got to almost train yourself that, wow, this is lucky, and like I think someone said earlier, you've got to be ready for it. Everything's got to be dialed in, and you've got to go, because if you're sat there photographing these bioluminescent things and the stars, and then a giant anteater rolls in, like you said, that probably, once it gets a sniff of you, it's out of there, and you're doing a long exposure. So you've just got that one shot. So luck plays a huge part, and you've also got to train yourself that the adrenaline doesn't take over and you panic and mess it all up. So no, it's all about that, and yeah, it's like winning the lottery.
Now, we've got a stunning image here from Tony Wu. This was winner of the Behaviour and Mammals category.
Yeah.
I mean, this is awe-inspiring, isn't it? I can...
Imagine being in that position.
Exactly.
I mean, Tony talks about it, and I've heard him talk before about like being picked up in the mouth of a sperm whale. Like that's interesting. You put yourself in some interesting situations being a wildlife photographer, and obviously I do it on land. I don't really do any underwater stuff, and I've been in some interesting situations. But putting yourself in those situations, completely out of your depth, quite literally, amongst hundreds of sperm whales. I mean, these guys are huge, and they could just hit you with their tail or grab you in their mouth. So you've got all that going on in the back of your mind, but you've kind of got to switch off. You've got to completely relax, and that's what happened. Like when you do that, you get shots like this, and like you say, Tony he's the man for underwater. You know, he's doing incredible stuff. Last year, I think he won the category as well, or for underwater, he won the category this year with another underwater shot, but in mammals, and just the experience alone. I mean, imagine being amongst that and having to wipe off sperm whale oil off your lens and sperm whale poos drifting past, getting caught in your regulator. I don't know. There's lots going on for you, and then you've got to be composed to get the shot, and very well deserved. I mean, imagine having, I mean, they're whales, but submarines coming towards you. Like, that's basically what this is. Unpredictable submarines.
Exactly.
Charging straight towards you, and you've got to be snapping away and composing a shot at the same time.
Well, hold that thought, because we do have Tony, and we can hear from the man himself.
Tony, thank you ever so much for coming and speaking to us, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's a wonderful, wonderful photo. Now, one of the criteria in that category is a memorable image. I think swimming with, I counted 15 of those giants. That must have been incredibly memorable. What's it like to share space with that many sperm whales?
Well, actually, it's a very small part of the scene because it was an aggregation. I call it the gathering of hundreds of whales, maybe thousands, for 2.5 days. Imagine being in a small boat in the middle of the ocean, looking around you 360 degrees as far as you can see. Whales, whales, and whales. So it's kind of like what the whalers would have been targeting, some time ago. Now, the special thing about this is that I've researched it, or these types of events, since, and I can find documented cases 4 times since about 1946 of credible people, credible witnesses reporting aggregations like this. So I think that these aggregations are very important to sperm whale society because they are very social animals, much as we are. But during industrialized whaling, we knocked off or killed about 2/3 of them. So in order for this to happen, to have dozens, hundreds, thousands of them gathering at one place, it means 2 things. 1, the populations have to recover in number, and 2, the reason for their coming together, which we don't actually know yet, exists again, which is a good thing because social animals need their social functions in order to come together.
It's so exciting to be able to witness that, and you're able to share it with potentially millions of people, which is wonderful. We happen to be in a very apt situation at the moment under our own whale. It's not a sperm whale, it's a blue whale, but it's got a similar story. And you were very keen to come tonight to see this specimen. What do you think? Do you like it?
Well, I was lucky enough to be here last year, and I heard that the Diplodocus is going to be replaced by blue whale, Hope, which is up now. And I said to myself, I would love to be here because I've swum next to blue whales, many blue whales, in fact, within touching distance many times, swum along the bodies from the head all the way to the tail, watched how graceful they are and how beautiful they are. It's quite a moving experience when you're traveling along 20 to 25 meters of their length. And this is the first time I've been able to see a blue whale skeleton. So it was kind of like, last year I said, oh my God, I would really love to see this blue whale, and here I am, and that's a really special part of the evening for me.
And being one of the winners of the category, that must just be the icing on the cake as well. Now, are there any other considerations when you're taking photos underwater next to these such large animals? How do you even get into the right place in the first place?
Well, you see the end product, but there's a lot of preparation work behind it. I mean, obviously you need to know your cameras, but you need to know the animals.
Tony, I'm really sorry, we're going to have to cut you off there. Thank you so much for that. Do enjoy the rest of your evening, and congratulations again. It's a wonderful image.
Great to hear from Tony there. It is a wonderful image and a real message of hope in that image.
Exactly.
The fact that we can see those gatherings now, whereas perhaps in the past
yeah,
we might
it was
not
looking
have.
very bleak for the whales. I mean, even when I was growing up, you're seeing the pictures of the whales being harpooned and dragged up onto boats and stuff. But yeah, exactly like Tony said, to see that, to witness that, I mean, that again is a job as our photographers to record and document these kind of things, but you're sending out a message and you're seeing things that people thought maybe would never happen again or are happening again or have never been seen before. It's a really important job to document that and show it.
Absolutely, and nice to have a positive message as
exactly,
well.
yeah, you don't always want the doom and gloom. I think
that.
The doom and gloom is very important.
It is,
but
absolutely.
At the same time, it's great to see that work is being done to bring these things back, and when you've got hundreds and possibly thousands of whales around you, it's going well.
Now we are about to start the ceremony again. We have, I believe, 6 more categories to announce, and also the overall winners in the young and the adult competition. So let's head back over now and find out who's won.
7 categories, and we start with plants. Now, it's often been said that we sometimes make the mistake of overlooking plants in favor of more charismatic species and out on their beauty. These photographs are arguably the most inspiring and beautiful of any in the competition, conveying the essence of a species, portraying the importance of its role in its environment, or its strategy for survival. On the shore of the fjord in the Lofoten Islands in Norway. Here and there the clouds parted, allowing shafts of sunlight to fall onto the great walls of metamorphic rock, lighting up the vegetation, the canyon and its slopes. This mountain variety of downy birch is relatively small, and here in its autumn colors it glows gold. Dwarf willow species carpet much of the ground below. Drawn to the gentle curve at the base of the rock face, our winner waited until a break in the clouds yielded the brief moment in a timeless landscape to compose his photograph. Our judges felt this image is made all the more memorable and mysterious by the perfect light. Please, would you welcome to the stage Romania's Dorin Bofan.
Hi all. So I might be the first Romanian to get up on this stage, so I'd like to take this opportunity to send a short message about my country. Romania has some of the last virgin forests in Europe. They shelter many species of animals, including lynxes, wolves, and bears. Unfortunately, these forests are facing extensive logging, both legally and illegally, from national and European companies as well. For those of you here and those of that are watching this, what I'm trying to say is that there are NGOs in Romania, like Worldwide Fund for Nature Romania, Greenpeace Romania, Agent Green, and many more, that along with the people of Romania are trying to get the international support to continue the fight to save the lost virgin forests and to preserve what it is one of the last natural sanctuaries in Europe. Lastly, I would like to thank the organizers. You guys are doing a great job with this contest, keep inspiring us. And also a big congratulations to all of the winners and finalists tonight. So thank you.
Hugely inspirational speech, I'm sure you will agree. Next, in the 11th of 16 categories, we explore the underwater world with images that portray marine or freshwater habitats, the behavior of an animal, or an animal within its environment. This category is of particular relevance to the museum because it's partway through its oceans season, presenting life in our seas through exhibitions and events and showcasing what some of the world's top marine researchers are doing to protect these vital ecosystems. Underwater photography requires a unique set of skills and exceptional vision. To then achieve particularly creative images in this most precarious of environments is truly challenging. But if you needed proof that dedication and hard work pays off, then just take a look at these unforgettable photographs. And this is this year's winning shot. Isn't it fantastic? A lobster larva offers a glimpse of life hidden beneath the waves that can only be revealed to us through the expertise of wildlife photography. In the open ocean far off Tahiti, our winner regularly dives at night, often in a body of water as deep as 2 kilometers beneath him. His aim is to photograph the tiny deep-sea creatures that migrate to the surface from the depths under the cover of darkness to feed on the plankton. This lobster larva was just 1.2 centimeters across, with spiny legs, a flattened, transparent body, and eyes on stalks. It was gripping the dome of a small mauve stinger jellyfish, and the pair were drifting in the current, the larva saving energy and possibly gaining protection from predators deterred by the jelly stings, its own hard shell probably protecting it from the stings. In several hundred night dives, the photographer met only a few lobster larvae and took many shots of the jellyfish before he got a composition he was happy with, a portrait of a creature rarely observed alive in its natural surroundings. Please, would you welcome from France, Anthony Berberian.
I'm deeply honored to be part of this well-educated and very knowledgeable group of people who are witnessing the natural beauty. The other day I was talking with my son about relativity, and he wanted me to explain him why everybody said that everything is relative. And I said, no, everything isn't relative. I tried to explain speed of light and space and time. He got confused. So I showed him the images from the previous wildlife photographer of the year. And every single image he looked at, he said, wow. And I said, you see, nature is absolutely beautiful. It's not relative. And he said, oh, okay, so a whale is beautiful. I said, yes, it's fat, it's huge, it's got pimples on the head. It's ugly, but still, it's absolutely beautiful. And with this picture, I have another point to show him that even this creature, which is like an alien, a monster from the deep, nature can be beautiful. Thank you very much.
Next up, the Earth Environments category, images celebrating the magnitude of Earth's many landscapes. These photographs display Earth's beauty with a clear focus this year towards its iced regions, those which are most dramatically impacted by global warming. This was an extremely strong category with intense competition, originality of subject matter, superb composition, and a great sense of place is what unites the final selection. Our photographers clearly have superb technical abilities, allowing them to work in complex and challenging conditions. It's hard to look at these pictures of Earth's magnificent environments and not feel a desperate need to protect them. And this is our winner. Powerful. Isn't it just incredible? And wait till you hear what it took to achieve this image. It's a powerful and surprising, incredible photograph, as I'm sure you agree, not least because it was made in freezing water in Antarctica. The tiny humans you see not only create the light that brings the mammoth iceberg to life, but also provide a scale, emphasizing the insignificance of humanity when it comes to the grandness of the natural world. The photographer and his dive team were working out of the French Dumont d'Urville scientific base in East Antarctica, recording the impact of global warming with film and photography. When the photographer spotted this relatively small iceberg, he saw the chance to realize a long-held ambition, not to show the visible 10% above the surface, but the other 90% of it, the gargantuan part beneath. It took 3 days in virtually freezing water to explore the iceberg, plan the shoot, and then take the series of photographs. He needed a substantial number of shots with a very wide-angle lens to capture the entire scene. Back at the station, it was a tense wait at the computer while the result of 147 stitched images came together on the screen. How lucky we are to be able to gain this privileged glimpse of a rapidly changing environment through the eyes of our winner. From France, please would you welcome Laurent Balestat.
Thank you. Thank you very much just to be here among you, among such talents. And thank you to my team, because this dive was so tough. I'm very proud of my team and to get this prize, because yeah, it was so tough, so hard to make this dive. Personally, it asked me 7 months to recover my toes sensibility. Now it's okay. And so I'm very proud. But I'm also happy because this photo will be shown tomorrow in Hobart, Tasmania, where there is 25 countries united to decide for the creation of a huge marine protected area in East Antarctica. And maybe to know that this photo get this prize can maybe push them in the right direction. So yeah, this picture provide me a huge emotion, and maybe now they're going to help to the right decision. So how could I be more happy? Thank you very much. Well.
Images like these are just what this competition is about, aren't they? Everything that they represent, the hard work and the message that they convey. In our next category, we explore the world of black and white, one of my favorites. This is monochrome imagery at its finest. The photographers invite us to focus on and enjoy tones, shapes, textures, light play, shadows, and depth of field. Without color, the viewer is not distracted away from the core of the subject and can also appreciate other aspects of nature. In these timeless images, the photographers allowed the animals to create the drama. And this is this year's winner. The subjects are unmistakably polar bears, but the creation is an imaginative and sensitive evocation of a mother and cub, highlighting the contrast of perfect fur against ice, the symmetry of legs, and the pattern of claws within their furry pads. From her ship, anchored in the icy waters off Svalbard in Arctic Norway, our photographer spotted a polar bear and its 2-year-old cub in the distance, slowly drawing closer. Nearing the ship, the bears were distracted by a patch of snow soaked in leakage from the vessel's kitchen, and they began to lick it. Mirroring each other with back legs pressed together, they tasted the stained snow in synchrony. I was ashamed of our contribution to the immaculate landscape, says our winner, and how this influenced the bear's behavior. Mindful of the species' shrinking habitat, where climate change is reducing the Arctic sea ice on which the bears depend, our photographer framed her shot tightly. An original portrayal of polar bears, this unique and balanced composition leaves tantalizing details to the imagination. Please welcome to the stage Luxembourg's Ilo Elvinger.
When a year ago I decided to quit my job as a lawyer, and when this year, on the day I left the office, on the same day received the notification that I won this black and white category, I thought I was sure that I made the right decision. I am very honored and proud to be here with you, and I'm extremely honored to be under this fantastic creature that is called hope. And I have the feeling that hope is contagious tonight in this room and even going outside. And I believe that it struck my mind, I think that the pictures are the virus that are carrying the hope outside, contaminating. I hope we can go on and prepare hope for everyone, and that the world becomes better with our nature being preserved and people becoming aware of what it is worth and to take care of our nature. Thank you.
The speeches tonight are sending shivers down my spine, and if there was ever a person who is going to inspire you to follow your passion, it's this worthy winner. Next up, we visit the complex relationships between humans and the natural world in the Wildlife Photojournalist Award Single Image category. Landscapes, portraits, and detailed shots explore the variety of ways that humans are affecting the natural world. How impactful is the story being told? That was the question debated by the jury when choosing the photographs in this category. And each conveys a compelling narrative. These photos expose our collective and insatiable material greed and our failure to care for and protect our planet and fellow species. These powerful images all contribute to empowering people to make better decisions for our shared future. But the photo the judges felt was particularly impactful is this one. In eastern Sabah, on the island of Borneo, 3 generations of Bornean elephants edged their way across the terraces of a palm oil plantation being cleared for replanting. Now perched on a ledge, seemingly leading to nowhere, their fate seems to hang in the balance. Palm oil is a lucrative global export, and in the Malaysian state of Sabah, where the majority of the rainforest has already been logged, the palm oil industry is still a major driver of deforestation, forcing elephants into ever-decreasing pockets of habitat. Hungry elephants wander into plantations to feed, come into conflict with humans, so they're routinely shot or poisoned. Today, the fragmented population of Bornean elephants is estimated to number no more than 2,000. Our winner framed an image that symbolizes the impact our insatiable demand for palm oil has on wildlife. Palm oil is still used in half of the products on our supermarket shelves. The elephants huddled together, dwarfed by a desolate and desecrated landscape, is a haunting image, he says. Please welcome, from the UK, Aaron Bertie Gakowski.
On the island of Borneo lives a unique population of elephants that teeters on the brink of extinction. This image here offers a snapshot of wildlife in the 21st century. Animals are losing their homes, consumed unsustainably, or traded for traditional medicine, leaving behind emptied oceans and degraded jungles. The camera is one of the most potent weapons ever invented. As photographers, we all have an opportunity to locate, to document, and then to broadcast the truth. What we see and what we record can help change the world. Thank you.
Come back, Bertie, come back, come back. I'm not keeping this for you. I mean, I would have kept it, but I might have gotten into trouble. On now to our penultimate category, the Wildlife Photojournalist Award Story, for a set of images that illustrates the impact our perceptions and actions have on the natural world. This is one of the most challenging and important categories in the competition, a set of 6 images that tell a powerful story and compel us to act, to do something to make a change. Our first finalist tells a story of the characterful crested black macaque, also known as the yaki, from the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. Crested black macaques are critically endangered. Their numbers have fallen by 90% in 30 years, and they're now struggling to survive alongside humans. Their forest home is shrinking, they're hunted for meat, and their babies are taken as pets. It took several weeks before our photographer found the opportunity to document the pet trade, an illegal practice that involves the killing of mothers for the pot in the kitchen and the keeping of babies as pets before they too become too big and unmanageable and are sold for meat themselves. Macaque habitats are being cleared for crop planting, and the monkeys are venturing into villages to look for food, interacting with humans and risking being killed as they crop raid. Sulawesi crested black macaques are now so rare, they're mostly served as a delicacy at weddings and festivals. Bushmeat hunters and traders are now turning to other species of monkeys who will soon become endangered too. Trading in this bushmeat is illegal, but the lack of enforced policing means the black-crested macaque is now on the brink of extinction. Producing these compelling images, encapsulating each element of its plight, is a result of a 2-month investigation which included the painstaking task of winning over the trust of both the monkeys and the people. A worthy finalist, I'm sure you'll agree. And now to the winner of this category, who tells the story of the illegal trade in rhino horn. This is a follow-up to an investigation the photographer carried out in 2012. 5 years on, he wanted to communicate the continuing plight of the rhino. He immersed himself in the world of the illegal trade that involves highly organized criminal syndicates and rhino horn with a street value higher than gold and higher than cocaine. He also set out to explore the human stories behind the trade, investigating not just the brutality and defiance shown by the international criminal syndicates and the attitudes of the individuals who farm rhinos for their horns, but also the commitment and the passion of the vets, guards, and conservationists who care for and protect these rhinos. This is a trade fueled by an ever-increasing demand from Asia, China and Vietnam principally, where there is a long-held belief that rhino horn, essentially made of the same material as our nails, has medicinal value. All of the world's rhino species are targets for poaching, but since South Africa has about 80% of the remaining rhinos, that is where most have been killed. More than 1,000 rhinos a year since 2013, with insider sources saying that the figure is closer to 1,500 each year. Our winner says, we need to question what value system we are applying to wildlife. What does it say about our civilization that we have made wildlife into a commodity? This is a disturbing and powerful story from a master storyteller that must not be told yet again in 5 years' time. This atrocity has got to stop. Winning this award for the 4th time, please would you welcome back South Africa's Brent Sturton.
It always looks a lot easier from down there. Yeah? Firstly, I have an incredible support network, both with National Geographic and also with the contacts that I've made around the world in 20 years of this kind of work. My first child is going to be born in February. I'm 48. And I think I left it such a long time because I kind of lost faith in a lot of the work that we see as photojournalists. You lose faith in humanity to a certain extent, but when I come to this room and I see all of you, you really do a lot to restore my faith in that. So I thank you for that. And on the issue of commodification, we're really entering a period of time now where every animal, every wild space will be accorded value. And the people according that value are not necessarily the people who have the sentiments in this room. We need to watch those people. Increasingly, things like looking at the polls, looking at the value of individual animals, looking at how tourism plays out. Someone has to stand up for the rights of the animals and the wild spaces. In this room, you are the representatives and the ambassadors of the people standing up for them. Tonight I received this award, but the truth is that the camaraderie and the reinforcement that I get from being in a room with individuals like yourself when we spend months by ourselves, that's more than reward enough, and I thank you for that.
The jury selected one image from this winning story to join the shortlist of grand title contenders. The photo they chose is memorial to a species. The killers of this black rhino were probably from a local community, but they were working to order. Entering the park at night, they shot the bull using a silencer. Working fast, they hacked off the 2 horns and escaped before being discovered by the reserve's patrol. The horns would have been sold to a middleman and smuggled out of South Africa, probably via Mozambique, to China or Vietnam. The crime scene was one of more than 30 that Brent visited in the course of covering this tragic story. The judges said, "This is such a horrific scene, almost majestic in its sculptural power, yet there is rawness. Yes, there is rawness, but there is also great dignity in the fallen giant and therefore great poignancy." This is symbolic of one of the most wasteful, cruel, and unnecessary environmental crimes, a warning and a call to action, a compelling and iconic photograph. And now on to our final category this evening, the Wildlife Photographer Portfolio Award, which celebrates a photographer's best work. The judges looked for a collection of images that was both original and outstanding. From the moment our winning photographer was given his first snorkel and fins, age 6, he had his head in the water. There was never any doubt in his mind that he would spend his life in, on, or surrounded by the ocean. Today, he is an environmental photojournalist and director of conservation for Save Our Seas Foundation. His sublime portfolio transports us to the remote worlds of the Seychelles archipelago, inspiring an appreciation of the flora and fauna of its 115 islands. In giving this award, a top honor of the competition, the judges looked for images that operate as a body of work rather than a single story. And here, the diversity of species and settings also demonstrates an impressive range of technical abilities. First winning a category back in 2007, and many more since then, please would you welcome back to the stage South Africa's Thomas Peshak.
So the dog ate my homework. I left my speaking notes in the taxi, and currently my wooden bow tie is cutting off the circulation to my head, and I've forgotten my entire speech. So basically, in the very profound words of our 5.5-year-old winner, vielen Dank, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
The wooden bow tie makes up for it, don't worry. And the jury have selected this image, Here Come the Snappers, to join the contenders for the Wildlife Photographer of the Year. Bohar snappers are among Aldeburgh's top predators, with the teeth to prove it. As the tide races into the huge lagoon of this Seychelles atoll, they crowd together in the channels that link it with the ocean, waiting to catch the influx of smaller fish and invertebrates. Thomas's attempts to swim against the current were futile, and drifting with it gave him just a few minutes with the snappers. So he worked with scientists deploying a baited remote underwater video system to get this split-level shot. Clinging to a steel camera cable, he used one hand to take the photos and the other to repel the curious snappers. It took hundreds of frames to get such a compelling shot, and it truly is a memorable image. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen, an extraordinary lineup of award-winning imagery with the power to inspire curiosity and wonder and to challenge us to consider our place in the natural world. But now, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Who will be crowned Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year and Wildlife Photographer of the Year 2017? From 48,000 entries, we've seen 100 awarded images, but which two did the jury select as the overall winners? To announce the winner of the Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year, please would you welcome to the stage the chair of the jury, Lewis Blackwell.
These young photographers really are the future of nature photography. The Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition has been a springboard to success for many of our professional photographers. The passion and amazing talent astonished the jury this year. We really were spoiled for choice. With this level of dedication from next generation, the future of the planet is in very safe hands. The three nominees for Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year are Daniel Nelson with The Good Life, Ashley Scully with her image Stuck In, and In the Grip of the Gulls by Katerina Bea. So, the winner, the Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year 2017, is Daniel Nelson.
Thank you very much. I'm of course very happy to win this competition, but not just for me, but also for Kako, this gorilla. Because like myself, he is a teenage boy and he's growing up in a world where there's deforestation, hunting for bushmeat, and his future among his family is in a very fragile situation. So I'm very happy that Kako, along with all the other Western lowland gorillas, are going to get this attention now, and that their future through photography might have a promising change. I'm actually going to visit Coco this year, and I'm going there by public transportation from where I live in Amsterdam, and I'm hoping to uncover many more similar stories of conservation in Western and Central Africa. Thank you very much.
And now for the highest honor in nature photography, the Wildlife Photographer of the Year 2017. Let's remind ourselves of our 13 nominees. South Africa's Peter Delaney with Contemplation. The Night Raider by Marcio Cabral of Brazil. USA's Brian Scarry with The Ancient Ritual. Crab Surprise from Justin Gilligan of Australia. USA's Tony Wu with Giant Gathering. Australia's Jerry Pearce with The Incubator Bird. Tapestry of Life by Doran Bofan of Romania. France's Anthony Berberian with The Jellyfish Jockey. France's Laurent Balesta with The Ice Monster. Polar Pas de Deux by Ilo Elvinger from Luxembourg. Palm Oil Survivors by the UK's Aaron Bertie Gakowski. Memorial to a Species by South Africa's Brent Sturton. And Here Come the Snappers by Thomas Peshak of South Africa. To announce our winner, I'd like to introduce a very special guest who I've had the great pleasure to work with. Through his award-winning filmmaking, he has introduced millions to awe-inspiring and compelling stories about the natural world from all corners of the globe. With his phenomenal new series, Blue Planet 2, just about to air. The first episode is on your screens on the 29th of this month. Please welcome to the stage executive producer of the BBC's Natural History Unit, James Honeybourne.
Thank you, Liz. It's a great privilege to be here this evening amongst so many amazing wildlife photographers and storytellers. And it's truly an honor to, on behalf of my team, to be able to present this award this evening. The ability to capture a technically brilliant wildlife image is a rare skill. But to be able to do that in a powerful story with just one image, with impact that can inspire people and make people think differently about the natural world, that is rarer still. Each of these are truly great images, great contenders for the top honor, but there can only be one winner. I know the jury discussed this long and hard, and I can see why. But eventually, they came to a unanimous decision. And the winner of the Wildlife Photographer of the Year 2017 goes to Brent Sturton.
So it's not often that I'm lost for words, huh? But you guys really surprised me tonight. So, you know, I have a huge admiration for all of those of you who go out and spend months in a single place in tremendously difficult conditions, trying to make a unique picture of wildlife. And I always look at those images as the reason behind my work. You know, I always go, okay, my job is to reinforce the magnificence of these creatures that you make evident in your pictures. You know, I always think that the photojournalism is almost like the red-headed stepchild of the photography world when it comes to wildlife. I always had that in my mind. So for you to award this to me for the kind of work I do in this space, I'm blown away. Thank you very much.
Huge congratulations to you, Brent, and of course to all of our winners this evening. You have made this year's competition one of the finest yet. And to wrap up this spectacular evening, please welcome back to the stage Director of the Natural History Museum, Sir Michael Dixon.
So have you had a good night? Good. First of all, congratulations to all our winners, and in fact, all of you who took part. We hope you will already be thinking about submitting your work for next year's competition. Your powerful, creative, and courageous images remind us all why we must make the protection of our astounding natural world a priority. Brent's image of a slaughtered black rhino will resonate far and wide. It's the counterpoint to Hope, our blue whale. Hope is a symbol of our collective power to create a better future. The fallen rhino, a shocking warning about the urgency of the challenge we face. The 2017 exhibition embodies everything this museum aspires to. It will inspire wonder and curiosity and challenge our audiences here and around the rest of the world to think in new ways about their place in the natural world. So do enjoy this opportunity to see the exhibition before it opens to the public on Friday. It's down that way. And take your menu cards home with you. You'll be doing your bit for the planet because you can plant them. Instructions are on the card. It just remains me to thank all of those who've worked so hard to make the competition and this event tonight such a success. And a particular thanks to the lovely Liz Bonin for doing such a wonderful job as our host. So thank you, everyone. Good night. Do enjoy the exhibition, but first, dessert. Thank you very much.
Well, there we have it. The winners announced, and two very deserving winners. Would you agree, Luc?
Deserving and two very different winners, but it goes to show this competition is the perfect platform. I mean, imagine going through Brent taking that photo. He visited 30 different kill sites like that. The torment, the emotional torment of having to witness that, document it, but now millions of people are going to see it and stand up and see how wrong this is. And like they said, in 5 years' time, hopefully Brent or someone else won't have to go revisit that story because that problem will have been stopped. But I think last year, 3 rhinos a day were being killed, and it's not a nice picture to look at, but it sends such an important message. It will hopefully send shockwaves out and really make a difference.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to contrast those two images, isn't it? So they both have quite strong conservation messages, but for example, the young photographer, Daniel, quite a peaceful image here.
Yeah, but a peaceful image, but also a creature that is under huge threat. Lowland gorillas, like Daniel kept mentioning, the bushmeat trade, deforestation, their habitat is imploding and they could be on the brink of extinction as well. Looking at it, you see a much nicer picture. You relate to it more. You're not sad at looking at it, but then when you think about it more, you're sad that what does the future hold for that young male? Like you said, who knows if there'll be a future for him.
Exactly, and it does. It reminds you of the importance of that forest environment for these lowland gorillas as well, which is endangered.
Yeah, and documenting all of this, it just shows how important it is, the platform that Wildlife Photographer of the Year is, that it gets it in front of so many people, and so many people become educated because of it. And the more people are educated, the more people that can make a difference.
Absolutely. A stunning, stunning image, well deserved. And of course, Brent's winning image, very, very different, a tough image, an interesting winner. What do you think about that one?
I think it's fantastic. I think we ended the previous bit on doom and gloom, and there is a lot of doom and gloom. This shows doom and gloom in all its ugliness. But, I mean, it's a hard image to look at, and people aren't going to enjoy looking at it, but they're going to have to look at it. They're going to come here. They're going to come to see the other pictures, and it's going to tour around the world for a year. Millions of people are going to see that, and it's images like this that can stop the ivory trade and the rhino horn trade and all of those. And I mean, wildlife crime is a huge problem. It's way up there with human trafficking, drug trafficking. And yeah, it's images like that that resonate with people. It upsets people. It gets people angry. It makes a difference.
It gets people talking as well. It starts those conversations, doesn't it?
Yes.
So a difficult image to look at, but also in its own way quite beautiful. The judges called this almost sculptural.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's beautiful in its own way, but also horrific at the same time. It's gory. You've seen this incredible creature, completely no respect given to it, horns hacked off. But for me, it's a very, very worthy winner and a very important winner. Like I say, for wildlife photographers, Brent is one of the leading photojournalists. He's made such an impact. He's been doing this for years, and to get that recognition by getting a prize like this with an image like this, I know how much work would have gone into it, and the stress and the torment of having to witness things like this. And I'm sure he'll be the first to say it. The people that Brent went to 30 of these, there's people going day in, day out, working on the front line, battling that, and this is a picture for them that not to give up and to keep on going.
Now we actually have Brent on the award ceremony floor, so we can get his impressions on winning directly.
Brent, congratulations on being the 53rd winner of the Wildlife Photographer of the Year. There's a lot of love for you in the room, you could tell when you got the announcement made. How are you feeling right about now?
Yeah, I'm blown away. I mean, as I said, this is, I always see my work as a reinforcement for the really magnificent pictures. So for them to choose something that's a photojournalistic image, I appreciate that very much. The great thing with this competition is it just means that, your work gets another life. It gets seen by that many more people. The issue gets a certain longevity. So
when you're actually there taking images of such sort of brutal things as we've seen today, it must be very tough. But moments like this, when you realise it's going to have a substantial reach and it's been recognised by the photographic community, that must really make it worthwhile.
Look, you know, as I said earlier, my job is reinforcement. So when I'm making these images, I'm thinking about all the men and women that are out there, you know, who are underpaid, underappreciated, protecting wildlife heritage around the world. I mean, my job is to make images to show what they're doing. So, you know, any kind of issue that I might have personally is superseded by that, you know, every time.
It's very gracious of you. And the image itself, there's a few things missing. Obviously the rhino horn itself, but the people are part of that story. And the other photos that make up your collection, they all involve people. That's an important part of this story, isn't it? The impact that we're having, but also the people that are making a positive difference. This is something that you're constantly trying to get across as well, is that right?
Well, look, you know, I don't think anything exists in isolation anymore, you know, and my job is to show that interconnection, you know, that nothing is by itself. You know, when it comes to making this picture, I mean, I got to this picture quickly through a network that I had, but I had to go to 30 different carcasses before I was able to reach one that I thought had the necessary emotional resonance. And then I have to work quickly because a police forensics team is coming and they don't want me anywhere near that stuff. So, you know, it's what's really going through my mind when I'm taking this picture is how efficient can I be in conveying the message I need to convey. Now, this is not a new issue, but to keep it alive in the public mind, I need to make emotionally resonant pictures, and that requires a certain set of circumstances.
I'm going to ask a very frank question. The theme of hope is one that's come up a lot. We had a lovely quote earlier, hopefully, that hope is contagious, and the photos are a way of spreading that contagiousness. It's not a story 5 years on you obviously wanted to be telling, but is there hope in this story? Is there a glimmer of light that we can see in the story you're telling?
You know, I think humankind responds to crisis, extreme crisis. We're not very good at getting out the gate early on this stuff, you know. So when I ask myself that question, personally, I think about the number of people that I know in the field that are, you know, day in, day out, 365 days a year, for very little money, are making this their life cause, you know. So I have faith in those people, and I have faith in my own abilities to try and reinforce them. You know, I have faith in the fact that there are still magnificent images being made of animals and of wild spaces that consistently remind us what do we have to lose. So I'm hopeful about that. In terms of the basic nature of man, I think that's to seek power of other men and other environments. That gives me some pause. But as I said earlier, when I look across at a room like this, it reinforces me.
To quote another of the photographers today, the camera is a potent weapon against exploitation and the harm that humans can do. And you wield that weapon well. And you are an inspiration, I think, to the photographers here tonight. And now that your image is going to be seen throughout the world, an inspiration to others. So congratulations, Brent. And thank you so much for your time and for your images. And please enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Okay, guys?
Fantastic. A massive congratulations to Brent there and to all of our finalists and our winners. It's a really, really strong field. It is every year, but a fantastic, fantastic bunch. We are just about out of time, I'm afraid. Thank you very much, Luc, for coming to talk to us today. It's been fantastic chatting to you and getting your insights. I hope you'll join us
Thanks
again.
for having me.
Excellent. Now, NHM Live will return tomorrow with a very special episode. We'll be talking to Brent, our overall winner, and also to Richard Sabin, our curator of mammals. So do tune in tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. for that exclusive talk. Now, if you've been inspired by our photographs tonight, if you would like to enter next year's competition, entries actually open on Monday the 23rd of October. So get entering. And finally, just as a reminder, the exhibition itself opens this Friday, the 20th of October, here at the Natural History Museum. So do book your tickets for that. Come and see these amazing images for yourself. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We hope you enjoyed our talk and we hope that you'll enjoy us again. See you next time.